little teaser, I suppose, as well to some of the things we might actually see with this match. But a match at hand here, the June Joust Finals, and they're playing for so much. It's not just the prize pool, it's also the points that are on the line over the course of the season. So much for both of these teams. And Dallas Fuel are playing for something that's potentially worth even more than that. They're playing for the back-to-back tournament wins in 2021. They came off the back of the May Melee, they bested the Shanghai Dragons there, and now they're looking to do it again here.
Absolutely. That is really the precursor of a giant within the Overwatch scene. Being able to take multiple stage finals in a row has only happened to the true greats of those seasons. We talk about the back-to-back championships that the San Francisco Shock was able to make. This is like a little mini legacy that Dallas are carving out for themselves in 2021. A power struggle, and they are the ones that have stepped forward to fill the vacuum that has been occupied there. So I love this rivalry that we've got going on between these two teams.
It is truly brewing, isn't it? Yeah, let's take a look at the opponents for the Dallas Fuel here. The Shanghai Dragons, who are going to be introducing first with their lineup. And there's not going to be any surprises. No curveballs being thrown out here. Lip and Fleder as this DPS duo. The real question marks are going to be occurring when we're actually in the server. And we get to see these compositions that they're rolling out with, what they've got up their sleeves, because I believe it was Moon actually that put out like a post on social media or something like that saying that, you know, they didn't have much time to prep, they didn't have much time to really practice and kind of theory craft against what Dallas were running, and that's why they kind of looked weaker on the initial round of matches, and they definitely looked like a better team the other day. I mean, it was almost a 180 turnaround, Josh.
And that's what's so impressive about the Dragons. They were operating from behind the Dallas Fuel. They didn't realize what the meta was, they weren't playing the right compositions heading into the June Joust, and yet their development and their learning and their ability to craft their own theoretical countercomps has been fantastic. Nevertheless, they are up against some significant giants of the Overwatch scene in 2021, the Dallas Fuel.
Absolutely, and the Dallas Fuel, this team, they are not messing around. They are out here to try and secure the June Joust Finals. If they get that under their belt as well, there's no denying the legacy that this team is aiming to build. And of course, you're going to be seeing the usual suspects once again. No surprises here from this squad whatsoever, and some phenomenal performances over the course of this entirety 2021 season. Again, I love to point this out. Look at the power rankings of IBM Watson. The desk was hammering it up as well in terms of how many of these players are in the top 5. Look at that. It's absurd. A lot of ones, a lot of twos. I mean, what is it, just Jexa at 3rd? I mean, quite unfortunate for Jexa, who's just falling a little bit behind, but I mean...
But Bren, if you think about it, man, they're competing with each other for the #1 spots. Doha can't be #1 because Sparkle already is. Hanbin can't be the #1 tank because Fearless already is. And Jexa, somebody's managed to pip him to the #2 spot just behind Fielder. But otherwise, the all-knowing IBM Watson it's got them right on the money here. Dallas are an incredible team. Jonathan calling them the best team in the world. I agree with him as well. This finals, it is a rematch of a match that we saw already in this bracket. And of course, look at that map pool. It is so large because it's the final of the June Joust. It's first to 4.
It's all going to come down to Lijiang Tower, at least to begin with. And it's the Dallas Fuel's map pick. They ended up taking the Shanghai Dragons to Lijiang Tower. Recently being nicknamed Lee Jae-gon Tower as well for his performances. And that's across regions as well, actually. I was doing some digging, and that's taking place as well in on Bilibili as well for the Chinese viewership. They've also nicknamed it that exact same. And it's been happening as well in Korea and in the West. Obviously, after the back of his ridiculous performance the other day.
That insane game was set up so much by Fate's halts, and Fate could come out here playing the Orisa, but I don't think it would be advisable against the Dallas Fuel. I would anticipate that Shanghai are going to be running a lot of Fate on Wrecking Ball. His Winston has looked underwhelming when he's run it against teams. He tried it against Dallas in their opening match for the Pure Mirror, and it just didn't work. So Fate's Wrecking Ball has actually been really, really good. For me, even though the desk was saying there was a big difference in statistics between Fate when he played against Dallas and Atlanta, I think it was more about how his team was following up. In those games, even the opening game against the Dallas Fuel, Fate's Wrecking Ball was still getting large amounts of value. And keep an eye on it here, because now he has opportunities to combine with Fleder's stickies and focusing beams, something that was never available the last time they played against Dallas, because they began by playing Soldier and Ashe.
Okay, already Sparkle going down early. Exactly right, the composition's coming out this time. Shanghai coming out with a clear game plan. Fearless will just be absolutely burnt down. A nice pile driver to set it up, but Fleder just caught in the back line there. Doha takes him out with the shotguns. Dallas still opting to try and fight this one. Obviously, it's going to be the even fight, rotating around to the point. They're going to get this capture, or at least we stop just short of it here. The contest comes out as Fate rolls through them, putting in a decent amount of work, but yeah, pushed away in the end. And the Coalescence is going to be built up, hopped off early here by Fielder. That should win them the team fight. Shanghai actually just backing off, disengaging completely, obviously not wanting to opt into fighting that one.
But look how proactive Dallas are. They realize that Shanghai have disengaged and they don't want to give them any time. They push that advantage. Jexa popping his speed boost and they get right up in the Dragons' faces, taking them out, pushing them back to spawn. And even though the Dragons have that Coalescence to be able to recontest with, theirs is a reactive composition. Fate is trying to punish the fuel when they attack. Shanghai's comp is not as good at just getting in and playing aggressively, playing fast-paced.
Nice boop coming off onto the side. The mines are going to be really just kind of joined up there to the corner of the point. Doha comes through with the Death Blossom just to try and lock them up. But everyone's going to be avoiding it for the most part. Jexa going down to the mines now, the Supercharger. Well, sorry, I should say the Sound Barrier comes through, and the Shanghai Dragons, they've got more than enough health now to deal with that one. Lip with the two-piece, just need to clear off a couple of these players. Fearless obviously going to be stalling this one out for as long as he possibly can, but eventually it's going to flip over now. The Shanghai Dragons have regained control of this point. Had to invest a lot of ultimates to do so.
They did, and they were also a little fortunate in that Jexa died to Fate's mines, and he wasn't able to utilize that sound barrier in the middle of the fight. That's another thing that Fate's been improving on, having played more and more of the Wrecking Ball in this meta. The minefield usage is now superb from Fate.
Coalescence going to be used here by Fielder. Now we see Fleder moving over to the Diva. It's been so crucial in stopping a lot of this Moira plays. Built up the self-destruct. The Legion goes down here. Sound Barrier now comes through, and Dallas fully realize they got it for free. Fate going down to the bomb. It's opened things up tremendously for them. Sparkle now back into the Echo form here, just putting in the tri-shots. Beam damage is really inconsequential, because they've got enough damage regardless here, and it will be a nice flip over for them, just as long as they clear Fate away. Dallas back in control here. No ultimates online, Josh, but with this composition, sometimes you just don't even need it.
You don't. And plus, Fearless will actually have a Primal Rage before this fight begins. Fearless's Primals have been very good at denying pushes from other teams, denying space. So as the Shanghai Dragons push in here, you probably see a speed boost and Coalescence. Doha going for a really fast engage. He's got this Death Blossom to work with.
Yeah, but he overstepped himself ever so slightly. Had to use that Ray form to get back to the safety of his team. He's using the Death Blossom anyway. I cannot believe he stayed alive in the middle of this as well. He was so low, but appeal came through. It might not be enough though. The Shanghai Dragons of getting the kills in the end. Lip will go down there to Fielder. He was causing a decent amount of work. Decent amount of damage for their team, and still Shanghai trying to stay into this one, because obviously this is going to be the round. They need to close out this team fight. They need to close it out now. Lee Jae-gon realizes this, commits a sound barrier, but it only connects, I believe, onto two there. I think it was Fate's adaptive shields, actually, the ones that give him the extra bit of health. It's not going to be enough in the end. The Dallas Fuel coming up clutch in this fight. A lot of work. The coordination is fantastic from them. Nobody falling short of the mark, and that's going to be the round going their way.
Dallas only had 3 players alive, Fielder, Fearless, and Hanbin. And Fielder just popped his Coalescence and appeared immortal. He didn't have access to his Fade. If anybody had got onto him with any serious threat, he would have died. And yet somehow, some way, the Dallas Fuel claw that team fight back in their favor, and they close out the first round. And it didn't even look to be that much of a struggle, Brent. It wasn't that difficult for Dallas. This Wrecking Ball composition, it is fairly it is fairly good once you get control of the point and you can fight aggressively in choke points and stop Dallas from getting through, but it is so difficult to recontest objectives and actually be the aggressors yourself. It is very much a counter comp, a reactive composition.
Capture the objective.
Really is. With this Wrecking Ball, I mean, like you said, the reaction plays where you're trying to play around the initiations of Dallas, that is quite unfortunate. Izayaki going down early. You're not building Coalescence for this fight. I mean, if you're the Dragons right now, you just want to disengage as quickly as possible. However, Jexa going down may have just evened things up still. Dallas are not going to be letting up here. They want to be catching any stragglers that they possibly can, building up the ult charge. They'll be able to get another couple of kills here if they're lucky. And yeah, Fate will eventually fall there. So the point, early control going to the Dallas Fuel once again. And Izayaki going down early there, Josh. Look at the difference in Coalescence Charge.
Yeah, that's a killer. Dallas are going to look for an aggressive engagement here, I think. If they can scout, yep, and they realize that the Shanghai are heading towards the White Room. Fate is lagging behind a little bit here, maybe looking for a group engagement or some kind of power drive that they can combo up. They're anticipating the aggression coming out of Dallas. Look how passive Shanghai are. They know that Dallas want to get use out of this Coalescence, and here it comes.
Yep, Coalescence is going to be led into the backline. Lee Jae-gon just about escaping with his life.
Oh, no, he
spoke
isn't.
too soon. He tried to zip back in to go for the environmental kill, but punished for it. And now the Shanghai Dragons are going to be left here a little bit lost, is how they're looking. Unable to really proceed and unsure of how to proceed as well. Dallas Fuel still holding on to this point now. The advantage is going to be swinging towards Shanghai now that they've built up this Coalescence in time, so Izayaki will have it to lead in this next team fight.
But there's so many things that Dallas can do. Great boop there as well from Jexa, stopping Fate from getting that knockback that would have gone through the entirety of the Fuel team. Fielder falls in the middle of this fight, so it does spell doom for the Dallas Fuel, but they've invested Primal Rage and Duplicate in here. This bomb from Sparkle would have to be enormous, and he does it with the remake as well.
The remake and the self-destruct. Are you kidding me? The support line of the Shanghai Dragons is out of here. They've turned the team fight off of that alone. What a ridiculous play from Sparkle. Just when you thought it was going to be lost there with Fielder going down early enough, but I am shocked that they come out on top in that team fight.
They just have so much experience when it comes to this meta and playing the mirror. All right, it's not a true mirror because Fate's on Wrecking Ball, but it is as far as Dallas are concerned. It's just a small, slight adjustment for a team that's been playing this since the dawn of the June Joust. They understand how to play this meta.
Big sound barriers traded out. Both sides just looking to gain an edge, an advantage, anything they can. Lip using the Death Blossom. A lot of it's going to get ate up though. And now you can see that self-destruct right into the back line. It pushes Izayaki away. He doesn't get the value he's looking for with the Coalescence, but it matters not. The Shanghai Dragons committing a lot of ultimates into this fight and eventually overcoming the Dallas Fuel with this hold. Eventually getting this recontest, eventually getting this capture. But my word, what an uphill battle they've got.
It certainly is difficult for Shanghai, but now at least Fate can have more impact. When he's on the Wrecking Ball now on defense, he's going to be able to time his engagements, time the pile drives much more effectively. He needs to wait for some kind of ability to be used from Dallas, the speed boost, the engagement from either of the tanks, and then he can go in for these little pile drive attacks. Comboed in with some aggression from Void and Fleder there.
Yeah, Sparkle will be again assuming the form of the Diva. There's going to be no surprises with that one. Needs to build up this self-destruct, sends it up just in the nick of time, but he might be getting taken out. The recall comes through. Will not be getting that kill, although it was dangerously close. Lip almost got his head taken clean off by that one. Fearless as well with the Primal Rage. He stops Lee Jae-gon in the middle of the beat. That is ridiculous. Sent Void flying off the edge as well. The environmental kills the beat down. Lip, alas, to Jeopard using that Death Blossom will not be enough to turn the tide of this fight. And Fleder trying to get back onto the point, but they've already got him marked. Will not be able to get anywhere near it. The Dallas Fuel with the overtime burning. Eventually it's going to be whittled down to nothing. And it will be the map win eventually. Still the Shanghai Dragons will commit the bodies to it. They're moving over, obviously Fate on the Wrecking Ball. Going to be able to touch this objective. But it feels inevitable at this point, Josh.
It absolutely is. Dallas have got control over everything here. And Shanghai, they're just trickling in. No ultimates to their name. Not a hope in hell. And Dallas are going to be able to clean this one up for a very easy 2-0 victory on their map to begin with. Lijiang Tower is no longer Lee Jae-gon Tower.
That is quite impressive, I think, for the Dallas Fuel. A lot of people anticipated this would be a much closer series than we've seen, at least previously in the June Joust Tournament when these teams last faced off. But the Dallas Fuel still proving that they are just dominant. The pace that they play the game with, it is so difficult to keep up, to keep your head above the water when you're playing against them. Yet the Dragons, they've got to battle back. They've got to find a way into this series. Obviously, not over just yet. We've got plenty of maps for them to do so. We're going to be heading to a short break. On the other side of things, we're going to find out if the Shanghai Dragons can even up this scoreline just ever so slightly. Maybe it might get a little bit more favorable for them. We'll find out soon enough. Don't go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile.
And by Indeed, we help people get jobs. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back from the break, everybody, and take a look at this Indeed player resume. This time we're going to be showcasing Fate, and as you can see here, May Melee finalist in 2020 and of course 2021 that he's playing in here, and he's looking for that tournament win today in the June Joust. I mean, this guy is desperately searching for it. We know that Fate is I suppose, like this veteran presence when it comes to the Overwatch scene as well. He's been on so many different teams, and I mean, it just showcases here in this resume.
Yeah. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, making it the finalist but not able to actually complete. And he has to look across the aisle over towards the Dallas Fuel at Fearless in his glistening white bridal outfit. just knocking people around in Winston, killing Lee Jae-gon in the middle of his ult. And those are some large shoes to fill. Those are some big vital heals to try to fill for Fate.
I love, huge wedding analogies coming through. I'm surprised at how far you've taken this.
But these are massive shoes for Fate to fill, right? Fearless is a phenom. He is our MVP candidate, absolutely out in the lead of everybody else right now for overall league MVP if things continue as they have been, staring down the barrel of repeat tournament victories, leading the Dallas Fuel to those, and doing stuff on the Winston that nobody else can. And Fate has opted not to just be a replacement Fearless. He's brought his own vibe to the Shanghai Dragons and his own flavor. And that flavor has come out here in the Wrecking Ball. He's way more comfortable on Wrecking Ball than Winston, I would say. His Winston recently has looked subpar compared to people like Fearless, but in all honesty, whose doesn't? And Fate has tried to integrate this Wrecking Ball in a really nice way to disrupt what the Dallas Fuel are doing. The problem is that it doesn't seem to be working on control. It does feel like they have more opportunities on wider maps like Volskaya, but it is so dangerous to take the Fuel to Volskaya. Like you can see there, they're 7-0 this season, and they pick it whenever there's an opportunity. When Atlanta Reign beat them on the opening control map, Dallas picked Volskaya. And when Shanghai picked Volskaya into them last time, it was not pretty. The Shanghai Dragons, they were not able to capture.
They're doubling down on it, on the defense side. It was not pretty at all. But this time Dallas Fuel obviously on the attacking side of things, and this is a comfortable map for them. They're going to be trying to whittle down this defense, work their way through this choke point here. You can see Fate's going to try and disrupt it now. Comes in with the power driver. That's a wonderful setup right into the sticky bombs. A lot of that damage was ate up by their defense matrix of Hanbin, but ultimately they got what they were looking for, and that was the pick on the Sparkle. The push is pretty much dead in the water here.
Yeah, but
got to be careful about overstepping yourself.
They can't overextend here, but they desperately want to find another pick before Fielder gets that coalescence. And Dallas Fuel, they're like a coiled spring, and now they explode.
Yeah, that is a dangerous scenario. I mean, you cannot overstep yourself. You cannot overextend, because the Dallas Fuel are so good at spotting those weaknesses. And they're going to get these straggler kills just off the tail end of that one. It's essentially a checkpoint A capture. Shanghai might be able to recontest this one. I mean, they are running Fate on the Wrecking Ball, but it looks like they're not even going to be opting into that.
But think about, Brent, if they had taken it slowly, if Shanghai don't try to force the issue there, Fielder just pushes back in with 40% faster coalescence, and Sparkle's coming off the respawn instantly. So even though they get that first pick, the amount of extra damage that Fielder turned into coalescence charge would have hurt the Dragons if they weren't able to get stagger kills. So they felt like their hand was forced.
No messing around. No time wasted here for the Dallas Fuel. That's going to be Fleder getting D-Mech there. Obviously in the duplicate form, so it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. The remech come through very quickly. Self-destruct over around the corner just to really push Dallas Fuel away. Stops them from playing onto the point for just a moment. Get to catch their breath for an instant, but now it looks like they're looking to re-engage. And Fearless holding onto this Primal Rage. Here it comes right into the backline. That's the coalescence used by Izayaki. It's going to be traded out on either side. Fielder using it to just try and counteract it. Sparkle, obviously, now on the form of the Diva, going to be sending that south to strike. It's going to slide right back down again, and it's going to push Shanghai away. The Samaria does come off. This gives them a little bit of health to work with here, but Shanghai's still looking to try and fight this one. Death Blossom comes through. Doho looking to catch it. 2 players. Holy moly. That is ridiculous.
He's so good with the timing of that. Just puts a shot into Lip and then spins after Void had already used a large amount of his defense matrix. Void is using his defense matrix in that scenario to try and keep Lip alive. So Doha knows he won't have it to defend. And now Dallas have all the space on the point that they need. 4-minute 20 in the time bank as well. And they are blazing through Volskaya.
Shanghai desperately trying to stall this one out. Lee Jae-gon will get chased down though. Fate coming back on the Wrecking Ball. The final survivor, the final obstacle, cleared off the point. That's 4 minutes and 10 seconds here for the Dallas Fuel. And Josh, I'm getting this feeling, this vibe about this Dallas Fuel squad.
Oh yeah,
we've kind of been setting it up.
Only just now.
listen. Well, not just now, but I was thinking, okay, the Shanghai Dragons, they've got to be coming into this with an idea, right? To be bringing them to Volskaya Industries, they've got to be coming into this with a plan. But how? It's a question we've been asking the entire tournament long. How do you play against the pace of the Dallas Fuel? How?
let's think for a moment about what Shanghai are trying to do. They're clearly trying to operate with the coordination of Fate's pile drives and Fleder's sticky bombs, and then the focusing beam, and just looking for picks off the back of that. So as Dallas Fuel were routing through point A, they did manage to turn that into a kill. They found the opening pick onto Sparkle. The problem then is that they just over-push because they're not confident in being able to do that every time Dallas Fuel engage. And if Fielder gets his Coalescence online early, there's nothing they can do. Then once it gets round to point B, there aren't those clear and clean areas where you can catch Dallas on the rotate. They're just going to initiate early on. Plus they had all of that snowball advantage from point A. It really is unfortunate, but Shanghai are playing reactively. They're playing to stop Dallas, whereas Dallas are playing to win. And that means Shanghai must play perfectly, 0 mistakes, and force them out of Dallas. It's just such a hard game plan, man. It is almost impossible to pull off, which is why every major person that was trying to predict this game says that Dallas have an advantage. Their style is so strong right now. And Dragons, they're going for the full-on turtle comp. Hold the line.
We see it. Yep. The desk was predicting it, or at least they were trying to hope for it, I suppose. The Torbjorn coming out here. The Hoddle comp, I think Custer keeps calling it as well. I don't know if that's a play on words there, but you can see Sparkle just trying to put those sticky bombs off into the side, as well as the Shanghai Dragons. This is a war of attrition for them. They're just trying to lay down the shields, but the punish comes through. As soon as the shield breaks, it bursts, and they just topple over, unable to withstand that kind of pressure that the Dallas Fuel are exerting.
Now, what I can appreciate about this, Bren, is that Shanghai tried to run this comp before, except Fate was playing Wrecking Ball. And that isn't a comp. It's not a viable composition if you play Wrecking Ball with this. But with the Orisa, we have seen success. Now, normally that's on defense, and normally it's on maps that are more like close confined areas, like Hollywood, for example. Instead, running it here on Volskaya it seems like a bad map choice if this was your plan all along. But we'll see what Shanghai are able to get done. They do have the Coalescence to match Fielder.
Oh, they split them up here. Coalescence comes through off into the side. A ton of damage. That Halt almost connecting, or at least causing a bit of a demech there onto Handpin, but still no kills going their way. The Shanghai Dragons are going to be withstanding that kind of onslaught that the Dallas Fuel putting out. Word. And as I say that, yeah, Fledders are going to end up going down there. That's the leap from Fearless. Crazy. Sparkle committing the ultimates as well. It is chaos in close quarters, and Dallas Fuel are the ones who are coming out on top again.
That is absolutely wild. Fearless jumped, as far as I can tell, Fearless jumped away from Fleta, but had the concussion at the beginning of his jump, knocked him off the side, and they just get the instant 5v6. How do you kill a Torbjorn when he's that tanky? Oh, just knock him in. Just go for the environmental kill instead. Sure, why not? That's absurd.
It is ridiculous.
And that was such a good scenario as well, Brent, for Shanghai to actually start to get some momentum. They'd rotated into a good position, they had Rally still available, they had some large tools to make use of. And now, a minute and a half on the clock, and they're straight back to the spawn again.
Yeah. Fearless not letting up whatsoever. No mercy being shown to his former team here. And now, the Dallas Fuel, they're not letting up the pressure in the slightest. Look at the speed, look at the aggression coming in. The tri-shot's just about missing, so Void will get that remake. And the Supercharger, it does push Dallas away. They don't want to be playing into this damage. It's going to be coming out here from the Shanghai Dragons. One mistake, one misstep could be dangerous for them. Without a molten core, Flutter though. Oh my god, absolutely brutalized. Doe just came from the back, presumably a TP to set that one up. And they've got nothing to withstand it. Iziaki realized that the fight was done. Didn't even really use that Coalescence. Just going to be saving it for this next team fight. But at this point, Josh, you've got to be asking yourself here. I mean, they're going to be capping this if they manage to get this cap, presumably in the overtime, because this Orisa comp is slow. Okay, Fate's making a switch now to the Wrecking Ball so they can contest.
They have 40 seconds, though. They have 40 seconds in a Coalescence, so Shanghai have now gone over to a fast-paced comp. Shanghai are one of the fastest teams that we have in the league. They themselves play at a super high tempo. They love to play aggressively. And yet against Dallas, they look like tortoises. They look so slow. They look sloth-like, because Dallas Fuel are operating on another level.
Oh my god, and look at the damage! Fleder just trying to back away desperately, but a coordination from Sparkle and Handpin takes him out. It is brutal if you're a Shanghai Dragons fan watching this one. They've lost Fade in the process as well. Split up there by the self-destruct. Sparkle, though, goes down. Could be an opening now. for the Shanghai Dragons. They need to touch the point, and Void will eventually do it, realizing the importance of it. So that's the overtime going to be triggered now. But it has to boost away, and it gives Dallas Fuel ample opportunities to pick off anybody who was left who was standing by themselves, and that is going to be map 2 in the bag for them. And look at their faces. It just feels like another day in the office for this Dallas Fuel squad. That scoreline as well is just, I mean, it's just impressive. Look at the scoreline, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0 in the series.
At this point, it's can Shanghai Dragons get a round on the board? Can they get a point on the board? They are getting obliterated right now. It feels like a statement finals from the Dallas Fuel. They're out here to prove that they're not just better, they're in a class of their own.
And they certainly had a lot of doubters as well, but you're exactly correct with that one, Josh. A ton of doubters, but now just trying to build that legacy in the 2021 season. In the international competitions that we have, they were one step closer, but now we're going to be moving to a quick little break. On the other side of things, obviously going to find out if the Shanghai Dragons have got anything to try and answer it. We'll see you in just a few.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. So much flavor, it's a mind crunch. TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League. And by NetApp, the official data management partner of the Overwatch League.
That's right, the Frag video contest is back, and we want to see your best compilation videos of the top frags of the June Joust Tournament for a chance to win $3,000. Find out more at blizzard.wishpond.com/June-Joust, I should say. There you go. Eventually got the website out, so you can submit your chances there to win $3,000. It's all going to be judged up.
It's
as well.
not the June-Journament, like Custer keeps saying.
No, it's not the Journament, like Custer's. Stop trying to make Journament a thing. It's not a thing. The Power Rankings here with IBM Watson. As you can see, the Dallas Fuel are dominating the top 5, and no surprises there given what we've seen in this series thus far. I mean, just an absurd performance for a grand finals of any accord, and yeah, looking to, I suppose, cement their rankings even further. How high does the number go on the Power Rankings of IBM Watson? We don't know.
Nobody knows. But also, all of these people have changed positions, apart from Fearless, who has remained at number 1 from the week before up until the week entering the June Joust Tournament. And I haven't looked at it, but I would imagine that he has been up at the top for a long, long time. Here's the Dallas Fuel in person in Hawaii. Just like Danny.
Just like Danny. I mean, you want to rub that one in as well? It's sure, the desk keeps moaning about it. They keep going on and on and on about it. Yeah. It's like, come on, guys. And yeah, I mean, they're clearly, obviously, at the moment, all quite serious about the task at hand. Let's take a look at Sparkle as an individual as well, and some of his hero usage in the June Joust. It's one of the more interesting aspects about the Dallas Fuel, right, Josh?
It definitely is, because either Sparkle or Doha, both of them are very comfortable playing the Echo. And so you can see that Sparkle has about 64% Echo usage, but he's also flexed over to play the Doomfist into Reaper Tourbillon compositions a lot. And he played a ton of it against Shanghai in their opening game. He can also move over to the Genji if they end up playing the double hit scan, that kind of stuff. And this guy really is the key to being able to counter a range of the Orisa compositions that Shanghai might bring out or have brought out in the past. And so Sparkle's versatility really gives them so many opportunities to add a different flavor to their game. Brent, I'm worried about this map pick though, because not only have we gone to Volskaya, which is Dallas Fuel's best assault map, we're now heading to Numbani, which is, in my opinion, without a doubt, but yeah, without a doubt, it is Dallas Fuel's best hybrid map.
Yeah, and Shanghai here with our map leaderboards presented by Xfinity. The way this Grand Finals is going, I mean, it would be quite absurd, but if you told me afterwards that we've got a new record set, I might be inclined to believe you. And yeah, definitely. Just to refer back to that point about the kind of map picks here, obviously we're in the finals, the loser gets to pick the next map, but it seems like Shanghai just have a complete disregard for their opponent's strength in terms of what maps that they're preferring to play. Heading to Numbani, again, question marks are raised here. What have they got in store? Because if it's something similar to like what they had in mind with Volskaya, well, I'm suddenly really worried if you're a Shanghai fan.
Yeah, not just that as well, Brent, but we saw Volskaya and Numbani played when Shanghai went up against Dallas last time. And both of them went comfortably the way of the Dallas Fuel. And all right, you might say, well, the loser from those games gets to watch the VODs, study what they did wrong, and come out better next time. They don't want to face Dallas on some unknown map and unknown territory where it might be different. They want to replicate the same stuff they did before, but fix their mistakes. The problem with that is, it's kind of nonsense. Dallas are just good in those scenarios. And Shanghai, anywhere that you take the Dallas Fuel, they're going to be playing the same thing. So Shanghai are just opting to do this Grand Finals on hard mode right now. Because the Dallas Fuel, they already have a good read of what to play. And Shanghai, even though they are significantly shifting up their compositions, they're not trying to push the Dallas into uncomfortable territory, which you have to do if you're trying to counter a team of the caliber of the Fuel.
You certainly do. And Dallas are not wasting any time here. We're sending in the shots as they're trying to take this top left approach, push away the Shanghai Dragons. Bait in a bit of an engagement would be quite nice as well, but Shanghai are looking for that on the opposite side, looking to try and get the Dallas Fuel overstepping themselves ever so slightly. You can see the Wraith form was used there by Doha. And he's going to be just escaping from a lot of that damage. But now the engagement comes through. Dallas going to be trying to take down one of these targets. They're looking for Fleder as well. You can see the spam damage coming through, but Doha brought down in the end. The beam now. Fleder desperately searching for that one. The tracking was good onto Sparkle, but just couldn't bring him below that 50% health threshold. Now Dallas committing the Coalescence will eventually fade away, and it's going to be the advantage now for the Shanghai Dragons. Izayaki going to be using that to great effect, and it's cleaving through them. The perfect scenario for it.
That's an amazing play by Fleder. He backs off there to play around the Mega Kid towards Coast, and comes back in for the flank at the exact same time as Izayaki pops his Coalescence. And that, Bren, is a great way of disrupting the Dallas Fuel. They got themselves into a tight little area inside, underneath, in a really confined corridor, which meant that if Dallas Fuel tried to over-push their advantage, they would get wiped out. I'm sure Dallas are going to go for another team fight very quickly here, but let's take a look at what Fleder was up to here, just melting people down with the focus and beam.
While all that was going on, Fate was, well, just trying to push away the Dallas Fuel's attempt here, using the mines. Now going to be rolling through them. Down in the streets. See the duplicates comes out on either side. That's going to be a lot of divas on the field now. You're about to see a lot of self-destructs off the back of it. You see Sparkle's the first one. Gets taken out of the form. Nerf this indeed, please, Blizzard. We're going to find it eventually. The self-destruct comes through, traded out, and look at this from the Shanghai Dragons as well. The bombs, so good. That's the entire point of them. It's not necessarily to get kills. It's great if it does, but it forces them into these tight positions, and it sets up bigger ultimates, like Lip using a Death Blossom just then.
Hey, Brent, and at this point, are you starting to believe? Because I'm starting to a little bit. Half the time gone and more for Dallas, and they have not had a foothold in this. Yes, they got a tick, and they were close to 2, but Shanghai came back into that engagement really nicely. Now, the ultimate economy is in favor of Dallas here. They have Doha's ultimate in order to get huge value, but Izayaki can counter the strands! No, he can't! What a teleport from Doha!
Oh my goodness. Yep, that's it, Izayaki. No Coalescence to try and trade out, to try and offset that ultimate being used, and the Dallas Fuel, they just burst straight through. They're going to be in complete control at this point now. A couple of players from Shanghai are behind, and now they're waiting to try and engage, but the force down. Fade, as he was rolling through to try and contest, he just gets tracked through the sky. And yeah, that's going to be it pretty much here for the Shanghai Dragons. Izayaki will try and at least heal him up, do a bit of damage maybe to try and build up the Coalescence, but in just an instant, as soon as you start believing, they take your hope and they crush it.
Yeah, ripped away by another phenomenal Doha Death Blossom. He's had so many of those moments in Hawaii, just being able to find the tiniest little windows with which to crush his opposition. And these Death Blossom timings have been phenomenal. Every single map he plays in, he's getting value. 1.7 average kills with Death Blossom is just crazy.
Okay, well, that's a wonderful little play there from Shanghai, actually. Dallas tried to compensate there when Fate came up with the mines and split them up. And they actually just hard committed onto the backline of Shanghai, but did a very good job of disengaging and avoiding a lot of that. And just a little split approach here. So Shanghai Dragons winning the crucial team fight here at this corner position. It means that Shanghai or Dallas don't get rolling.
They definitely look better at following up on Fate's disruption with this composition compared to what they were running previously. Fleder hiding out in a tree.
Yeah, dangerously close to the ledge there as well. Had to use the boosters to get booped back ever so slightly. Now the sound barrier comes through. Jexa, he doesn't have it in time. He was 4% away, and the damage is done. Ultimate's committed. Death Blossom and the self-destruct from that duplicate of Fleder. It's going to be doing a decent amount of work, and now the Shanghai Dragons still in control of this corner position. Wonderful work from them. However, now they kind of get swapped around a little bit here as Dallas are coming up on a couple of key ultimates.
They are, but it is quite difficult to get value out of the sound barrier, especially if you're going to get pile-drived and you can't use that forward momentum as soon as you pop it. And Izayaki, they go on the offensive again. I love this from the Dragons. They are really trying to push Dallas Fuel. They just have to be careful not to get caught by the counter-attack.
And yeah, we're starting to see a bit of that pace now. It's an unusual look, I suppose, for the Dallas Fuel here. A team that's looking a little bit uncomfortable, I think, playing into this. Though Fate rolling back, obviously, ended up losing a player, and the spawn advantage works in their favor. I believe Fleder is also hiding at the side. Yeah, so Fleder is actually behind enemy lines. They may spot him, but they're looking for trying to get a bit of a pincer going. Now, the sound barrier comes through to try and counteract the mines that were there. Lip having to use that Wraith form as well to escape a lot of the damage, but they chase him down with a Coalescence anyway. DJ Gon might be next as well, as he's just trying to zip and zoop around that bus, just trying to avoid a lot of that damage, but the support line going down. It's a hard forward engagement. Inevitably, though, it will be the Dallas Fuel coming out on top here. The Shanghai Dragons achieving their goal, though, ultimately. I mean, only 45 seconds for them to now push this through. And Shanghai, they might be setting up here for a recontest just before checkpoint B.
Oh, definitely. They have double support ultimate with which to try and fight this, whereas Dallas are miles away from theirs. We're going to have to see another incredible Death Blossom from Doha, otherwise Dallas are not getting checkpoint B. They're already attacking, though. Lichigoni dies in sound barrier. It's Fearless again.
That is ridiculous. Fearless, he does it again. What a play from him. The fight still continues, though. Shanghai do not want to give this one up. They still should have the advantage when it comes to ultimates, but the Coalescence gets nothing. And now Sparkle, he's built up the duplicate. He's going to be assuming the form of the Diva and putting in that good work once more. Still, a bit of a Beyblade technique coming out there from Fleder, eventually removed. And you can see Lip going to be using his Death Blossom now to try and clear them off of the point. It's looking like it could be successful now for the Shanghai Dragons. The mines are also going to be preventing the Dallas Fuel from even trying to get this overtime going. There will be only Sparkle left standing, so that's going to be the stop right before checkpoint B. Wonderful plays there from Shanghai, to especially coming back after that when Fearless made that huge play, stopping Lee Jae-dong in the middle of the beat.
Amazing play from Fearless, like he's been doing frequently across the whole of the June Joust, across the whole of this season. But even in this series, that's the second beat from Lee Jae-dong that he's denied with his primals, which is just insane, his awareness to go for that. But at the same time, huge credit to the Dragons, because this is very, very different. What we've witnessed on Numbani defense here has been better than anything we've seen so far from Shanghai in their games against Dallas. They haven't looked close to being able to win a map, and this is the first time where Dallas are seriously sweating. It is rare that you see teams on Numbani get held before checkpoint B. It simply doesn't happen in this meta.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it as well, I suppose one of their only win conditions here, at least what Dallas are going to be thinking about as we take a look at Lip just tearing through the opposition. Fantastic that also from him as well being set up. I mean, Dallas are probably thinking that they have to full hold this if they want a chance to win.
Which they very well could as well, Brent. Even though Shanghai did excellently on defense, I would argue their composition is better on defense. That's why I was saying it's stronger on control when they're in control of the objective, because Fate finds more opportunities to disrupt Dallas when he already holds map control. Otherwise, when Fate's trying to get into positions and set up big set plays, it can be a little difficult. It might arguably be easier on checkpoint A than it is on checkpoint B, because he can go for these big, long pile drives.
Oh,
even so,
the engagement comes through. Yeah, Fleder's also going to be flying around the side here to try and put in that damage, to try and follow up on Fate's engagement. He's just kind of swinging around. It seems aimlessly, but there is a purpose to it, I can assure you of that one. Still looking for the kill, but Izayaki is the one who goes down. Shanghai Dragons far too low now. Not going to be having those Moira heals. Lee Jae-gon, they're all relying on his Lucio heals, but he's removed from the fight as well. And Dallas Fuel holding on here. They don't want to be losing anybody else. Sparkle did go down there. You got to remember the way the spawns work here, at least on Numbani A, it's kind of equal distance between both of them. But even still, Dallas in a comfortable position.
There's the first minute burned off the clock, though. And Shanghai, even though Fate had some decent pile drive initiations, Fleder wasn't able to flank at the same time and follow up on them. And now Dallas have an opportunity to go aggressive with this Coalescence. Field are building it so much faster than Izayaki all the time in this series.
It's instantaneous, yep. Really setting up those two kills. In fact, you got the final one there on Fleder. Izayaki is going to be holding on to this Coalescence now, but essentially the team fight is done and dusted. Fate is hiding, kind of like trying to avoid a lot of the damage, I suppose. I imagine, yeah, so this is his goal. He's going to try and potentially set something up. Hiding around this corner, he gets to really abuse that ball form and see around the corner, so he gets a lot of information.
But these are the
this
scenarios.
Needs to be big.
When the Dallas Fuel is down in terms of support ults, they tend to go aggressive with their tank ultimates. So I wouldn't be surprised here to see a big engage from Fearless or Angler.
And it's Shanghai Dragons are the ones who take the initiative. Moving forward, Sparkle has to use that duplicate. Now the self-destructs come through over the top. Lee Jae-gon still holding on to this beat. He's probably going to be getting a better one out of it. And there we go. It's going to be connecting onto everybody from Shanghai. Lip in the back line. The Death Blossom. probably going to be in too much, and he's susceptible to the self-destruct. Couldn't Ray form in time. Shanghai also going to be answering back, though, as Void is going to be sending it straight into the point. And yet, we see Fleder really going to be showcasing, I think, some of his Primal Rage mechanics there, as he almost sent him straight off the map. The Coalescence is used. You are not telling me that Dallas are turning this one. Shanghai were in a very comfortable position, but now, yeah, the heals are done. The Shanghai Dragons should be able to capture this one up quite nicely. Dallas still looking like they're teasing the potential, the ability now to try and contest this. It's a good power driver as Fearless comes in on the Wrecking Ball. This is the last ditch ever, but Sparkle gets Fleder.
Sparkle taken down though, so both Echoes out of the engagement. Lip forced to use his Wraith form as well. Fearless couldn't quite get the power drive off with which to set up the rest of his team. But Dallas, they are insistent that they're going to fight for every inch of this. They
can't push into this, right? With the mines, the power driver from Fate. They don't want to overstep themselves. The supports are still up. Fielder is building it up, but someone's got to contest this. How do you touch this into the mines? Coalescence now being forced and they don't touch the point. Just a little bit of a mistake there from Dallas, but it's all Shanghai need. And now they're going to be pressing forwards and then losing this fight as well with the way that they cap that up. It means they're not going to be able to take this team fight round the corner.
Yeah, they're not, well, they actually might be able to, because they're coming back in with the with double support ultimate here, and that Coalescence is going to be a large threat to Shanghai. Fearless has also made the move over the ball in order to recontest point A, I believe. I don't think this is a large-scale strategic decision that Fearless wants to be playing the Wrecking Ball to match Fate, but now that he's close to the minefield, he kind of feels compelled to stay on it. We'll keep track of that, though, because it could be a strategic shift for them. Nevertheless, this is a hard situation for Dallas to be in.
This has to be a win now for Dallas to try and hold this, otherwise Dragons are going to be taking this map away from them. The ultimates are coming out in droves. Soundbar now from Lee Jae-gung, but he dies in the middle of it. That was a Death Blossom from Doha. What an ultimate. Stopping Lee Jae-gung again from getting that Soundbar off, and what a critical kill.
It's night and day, the difference between Lip and Doha in terms of the ults that they're able to get off. Lip initiated with the Death Blossom. We didn't catch it on our screens, but I assume it was booped away, something like that, and wasn't able to get any value. I was taking a look at the screen. There was essentially no damage being done by Lip's ultimate. Whereas Doha, he saves it for the end of the fight after Void has used most of his defense matrix, covering Lip, and he just responds with a huge ultimate of his own.
The aggression coming through. They actually want to take the fight close to them. Izayaki, though, he builds up the Coalescence, and that is going to be used to punish Dallas. The hubris of them thinking they could take that fight in the choke point. Just by enough time, Fielder is going to get his Coalescence off, and now going to be using it to try and win out this fight. Doha teleporting into the backline. It's an intelligent play, and Jex are just trying to man-mark the cart so nobody can sneak it by them. Void gets the remake kill onto Fielder in the middle of all of this. Hanbin also going to be pressured quite heavily as the tanks of the Shanghai Dragons will chase him down through the streets. The way this fight is going, it's getting better and better for Shanghai. In a dangerous situation for Dallas, they choose to disengage.
Fearless playing this Wrecking Ball is able to contest the payload a lot, so Shanghai have made very little room despite the fact that Dallas have lost this major engagement. And they're going to be able to push back in. The mines are normally best saved for countering a Coalescence, but Fearless just has to use them here to try and deny some territory. This point, it is edging so close.
Yeah, I mean, the high ground is in complete control for Shanghai as well. Lip's just looking for the right opportunity to teleport into the backline right now. They're slowly edging the map control up. Fearless so low to Sound Barrier, just keeping everybody alive. But Lee Jae-gung's going to be coming back in with an even better one. Look at that Death Blossom from Lip. Finally, the TP engage comes through, and Doha will be sent packing right back to the spawn door. The Coalescence comes through. The Dragons, they're finally going to be bringing it here to the Dallas Fuel, and they are going to be taking away Numbani in the process. Not going down without a fight, getting a map on the board.
They can look out of breath after taking that first map away from the Dallas Fuel. All taking a sip of their water. They know that it's a long slog to be able to get back into this series, but they have taken the first step. Shanghai against Dallas. It's been so good every time these teams have faced off against each other in the past. A serious rivalry at the very top, the pinnacle of the Overwatch League. How could it have been any different for the June Joust? Imagine how silly we were to not believe in Shanghai Dragons getting a foot back into this series. Yeah. Shame on us, Brent. Shame on us. The Dallas Fuel actually do have some competition in this final.
Yeah, we were definitely painting a very different picture. But we're going to be going to a short break, and on the other side of this one, we actually got our game break as well. So we're going to see our Watchpoint crew break down the action thus far and explain exactly what's going on, what we're looking forward to in the future as well. You don't want to be missing that one, of course. The series will be continuing right after that as well. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Even more Overwatch League action coming up right after this.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to our game break presented by Cheese Grooves. Map 1 was Lijiang Tower, and I don't really think there was a compositional surprise there for us. We did see Shanghai rolling out with the Wrecking Ball, and Dallas, everything was as expected, including, of course, their dominance, their speed, and their aggression.
Yeah, and that's it. What you see is what you get so far. We expected Shanghai to come out and play this Wrecking Ball, and Dallas to just keep sticking on that Winston with the Lucio and Moira. We saw the head-to-head on Lijiang Tower, and as a lot of us expected, Shanghai Dragons, they got a little bit of value here and there. They won a team fight, but for the most part, the Dallas Fuel, on the back of Fearless's just ridiculous Winston play is just too fast for the tempo, and sometimes it's really hard for Fate to get value with that Wrecking Ball. And then after that as well, after that dominant performance by Dallas Fuel, we went on to Volskaya, and we saw the other iteration of what Shanghai Dragons wanted to play. We saw the Fletator, as Zoe wanted, so congratulations, Zoe, you got that one.
Thank you.
But we also saw the bunker style. Unfortunately for Zoe, it didn't work at all, and I think that was Shanghai Dragons' last test of trying this heavily bunkered comp. I wouldn't be surprised if for the rest of the series we see this Lucio Moira Wrecking Ball, but I'm worried because Dallas Fuel's tempo is just so good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I felt like at the time, yes, we predicted that Shanghai Dragons, they were going to pull out the Torb and the Horizon Assault maps because it makes sense because of the map. But also, they played that rush style on defense, and they just looked outclassed. Like, they were overextending. Dallas Fuel had perfect disengages and just put Shanghai Dragons in awful positions, where Shanghai Dragons, they didn't get any value from their ultimates whatsoever, and Dallas Fuel, they got to fight on their own terms. And when you're playing this Reaper Echo composition, it's all about the fight momentum, disengaging, putting your opponent in a bad situation. Dallas Fuel, they are so good at that, and that is part of why they're up 2-1 here at the game break. So I really don't see them having an awesome time playing this Echo Reaper composition, but it did work out for them on Numbani, nevertheless.
Yeah, I mean, Numbani was definitely their strongest showing yet. They had a good defense holding the Dallas Fuel right before the second point, and I felt a lot less critique coming from the desk as well as we were watching those games, and mostly when it comes to the ult usage, because in the first two maps Reinforced, you did mention that Shanghai Dragons just didn't get the value out of the ults the way they used it, or positioned them rather.
Absolutely. I mean, this came down to the minefields. This feels like something they figured out over the course of the weekend, right? We've seen them try the Wrecking Ball, we've seen them try Soldier, etc. This seems to be what they've settled on, playing the Echo Reaper, but with the Wrecking Ball instead. But still, you have this problem where Fate, he pulls out the minefield, and sometimes you don't have the coalescence to push your opponents into it, or you're putting down a Wrecking Ball minefield, and Dallas Fuel, they're just like, okay, we'll just disengage. So Costa, I don't know what you think about this Wrecking Ball pick. It did work for them on Numbani though, so maybe this is something you continue to play in the second half.
You could see it having value on that Numbani first point when we were watching from Fate's perspective, when he's able to maneuver around the map, get those high value pile drives, disrupt the flow of the Dallas Fuel, it starts to make sense. I think where it starts to fall apart is when he can't get that value. We saw a couple of times he just ends up rolling around, not really providing any value. So great setup by the Shanghai Dragons here on Numbani. You could tell they were comfortable on that map. But it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep that consistently going from map to map, because Dallas Fuel gets the map pick right now, and it's going to be hard for the Shanghai Dragons because I think Doha, I talked about in the pre-show, that Doha diff right now is enormous. Jexay is playing phenomenally. There's an incredible stat card out here that I'm not sure if they can throw up right now, but he is playing so well, especially when you look at on the other side. Lee Jae-gon has been struggling on this Lucio. I think he's lost 3 sound barriers so far. Look at this stat card right here by Jexay though. Look at this offensive presence. 21 assists per 10 minutes, 17.4 eliminations per 10 minutes, and he's only dying 4.6 times per 10 as well. So Jexay's having a phenomenal match, and Lee Jae-gon's gonna have to step it up on this Lucio difference matchup if they are gonna start turning this around for the Shanghai Dragons. Lucio, yeah, love to see it.
Well, it is now time for Crunch Time presented by Cheesy Grooves. As you said, Costa, we are heading to Rialto, so what's the approach here from either team? Do you feel like the Dallas Fuel need to change something up based on what happened on Numbani, or can they just shrug that one off and continue as they were before?
Johnny, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? Because you know that they're playing this Wrecking Ball now. On some points on Rialto, you can get some value out of it. For example, point A, you can flank around there, but it's a very open point as well. So how are you going to get a ton of value from that minefield? I feel like Winston definitely is the better pick on Rialto, especially on point B, which can be so tough, especially if Dallas Fuel, they get the high ground on point B. You can utilize that to your advantage and always choose your engagements very wisely. So it's definitely going to be tough for the Shanghai Dragons. I feel like here playing the Wrecking Ball on Rialto.
Costa, what do you want to see from the Dallas Fuel? How do they bring it home?
I think you just got to dust yourself off like that. And Numbani, forget about it. it's not like they have the flexibility either. We haven't seen anything else from the Dallas Fuel. They're going down with this ship. If the Wrecking Ball does end up being the best solution, I don't think we'll see Dallas Fuel adopt it heavily. We saw a lot of it from Fearless in that map, but that just felt like he got stuck on the Wrecking Ball. He had the mines, he wants to keep the ultimate and keep going. I don't expect Dallas Fuel to sort of adopt this Wrecking Ball style that we're seeing from the Shanghai Dragons, so just play your game. They got this far, you don't need to mix it up. You know, just forget about that map. You can easily lose maps because it's all about those 1%ers, and Shanghai had the edge on that one.
Well, let's see if they can tie up the series or if the Dallas Fuel will be running away with it. That's it for our game break, though, presented by Cheesy Grooves. We're now headed to a very quick break, but don't go anywhere because right after that we are back and it's the conclusion of the June Joust Finals.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez It Grooves. So much flavor, it's a mind crunch.
Welcome back from the break, everybody. I hope you took that time, to get a nice little drink, some snacks as well, because we could be in for the long haul here. The Shanghai Dragons are battling back here, Josh. They've got a map on the board. It was looking like it was going to be a bit of a one-sided affair. We've been cursed with these one-sided, I guess, finals appearances sometimes in the past where teams, just completely roll the other side. Not going to be happening just yet. The Shanghai Dragons just about holding on and showcasing that they can adapt, they can showcase at least something a little bit different, I think, and also executing a bit of their vision with the composition.
Definitely. I think that's the crucial difference between the first time they played against each other and now, is that in that opening engagement where Dallas played against Shanghai, Shanghai had an idea about what they wanted to do. They clearly had a composition and a theory. But it was only a theory at that point. It hadn't really been tested against the best teams from North America. And now that they've had the opportunity to, try it out against NYXL and then really bring it out against Atlanta and stress test some of the style against Dallas and figure out what works, figure out what doesn't work, they've got to a point now where they're essentially playing mirror except with Fate on that Wrecking Ball, and it's finding good value. He found an enormous amount of value, and they won Numbani on defense. Right? That's really crucial to understand, I feel, is that it wasn't their attack that was lightning fast or anything. They closed it out by disrupting the Dallas Fuel's offense and hitting really good pile drives, extremely good engagements where Fate and Fleta were able to combine together with that pile drive, the stickies, the damage from the focusing beam, and overall the whole team just collapsing on top of that. That's what you need as we go throughout this series.
And we're heading into Rialto. As far as maps go in finals appearances, quite a number of epic battles have occurred between opponents. And here's our map leaderboard presented by Xfinity. You can see some of them up there. The Titans versus the Shock in 2019, of course. The Valiant versus the Washington 2019. I'm sure a lot of you probably don't remember that one, but it's definitely on there. And Fuel versus Houston. I mean, Fuel have been up here a couple of times, looking to try and turn their luck around in this series. I say luck like they're not already currently leading, but
they are
definitely looking to try and take. Yeah, they are, and trying to take away this map from the Shanghai Dragons to really cement their lead.
That's what Custer was saying on the desk as well. It is just potentially a blip on the radar. It's down to Dallas whether or not this is a trend of some struggle as Shanghai gets back into the game, or whether this is just a blip on the radar and Dallas are able to adjust and come back and finish out the series. The ball is really in their court. Shanghai have already made the adjustments that they're going to make. Now Dallas get the map choice, we move over to Rialto, an interesting option for them, but I mean, when you compare it to their other options, which are, going to maps like Dorado or Junkertown, you can see why they would opt for Rialto. It's a lot better for the composition that they want to play. And Brent, the idea of Shanghai always having to make the adjustments, it's so key, because Dallas have recognized at this point in the season, whatever they are best at is meta. That's a direct quote from their assistant coach Aid in an interview with Yiska at GG Recon, where he said, Aid just said, whatever Dallas Fuel are good at, whatever they are good at, it becomes meta. They don't find it, they define it. And that is really interesting when you consider the course of this match, in that Shanghai have managed to make them uncomfortable playing their own style.
Yeah, and we'll see if they can keep this trend going, I suppose. Like, finding your footing with the composition is such an important part of it. And this tiny, tiny adaptation, I mean, people were clowning, myself included, on Shanghai making these changes with Fate on the Wrecking Ball and all these other stuff, but we did see a glimpse of it working, and now they're looking to try and set up a bit of an engage around this corner here on Rialto. The teams really want to be trying to get a little bit of a jump there, a bit of a whiff perhaps from Fearless as they're trying to cut around, but Shanghai, they out-rotate them, and look at those sticky bombs. Fleta finds his mark, Sparkle ends up going down.
But Brent, this is the same scenario as Volskaya. They get the first pick, it's on Sparkle, and then they're able to push to deliver that extra kill. So this is so good by Shanghai. They've not only been able to get that first engagement, plus they're on attack, so it's much better for them overall, but they're able to actually continue pushing forwards and wipe Dallas Fuel out before they can disengage. Because if you look at that Coalescence charge, if Dallas had managed to disengage there, they could have pushed back in 5v6 with a call and even been favored in the fight. And if Sparkle comes back up spawn again, they're still 30% ahead of Iziaki. Fielder is just getting up to these so much quicker, but that didn't help Fearless.
Yeah, that's a wonderful punish onto Fearless, and looking to take it a little bit further there. The Mines really blocking them off. The Death Blossom as well. They just cannot even walk within the sphere of death that are outputting. That's an easy capture for them. And the Dallas Fuel unable to get that foothold that they were looking for on checkpoint A. Shanghai rolling this card deep now. throughout Rialto, and I'm starting to think as well, this kind of narrative. I mean, Shanghai have been placed in this scenario where they've had to, battle back when they've been down in maps before.
Oh, yeah.
Back then, in the past, I mean, Fearless was on that team as well. He was part of that kind of glory run that they made. I believe it was in the May Melee of 2020.
Yeah.
And no strangers to it. They're veteran players on both of these teams, and they know how to win in this scenario. Fielder goes down again. They might be able to get a kill indeed. Fate will fall, but they've already got their reward. Fielder falling means Izayaki gets the free coalescence off. Southwestern gets dropped down. It's a bit of a lopsided one, but it matters not in the end, because the Dallas Fuel have got all the tools they need to win out that team fight.
3 team fights taken, 3 first picks going the way of the Shanghai Dragons. This is the only one where Dallas are able to recover it, 5v6. How they were able to go for a fantastic disengage, and both of their DPS ultimates came out crucially there, along with Jex's sound barriers, which have been incredibly reliable, which is something that you can't quite say for Lee Jae-gon.
Wait.
Lee Jae-gon already? You've got to be kidding me, Brent. He dies with another sound barrier.
Not
Sparkle
again.
focusing, beaming him out of the skies. He's got to pop him earlier, man. This cannot be a continuing trend if Shanghai want any chance in this.
Yeah,
now, nevertheless, there is a
absurd.
back cap going on. Fate is just continuing to shove this one in.
Yeah, Fielder recognizes it, will fade back, and the team comes back with the respawns as well. But again, another beat going to be dropped there from Lee Jae-gon, just really trying to maximize the time. Sometimes as well, it's just not his fault. He is getting battered in the Primal Rage, and once you get caught against Fearless, it's probably not going to be happening. But in that case, a little bit unfortunate for them.
Yeah, but you also have to make the adjustment to position yourself more safely. If you recognize it as a trend, you have to adjust personally.
Shanghai committing the ultimates, Coalescence and the Mines. Yeah, Fearless using this Primal Rage, and that's just trying to buy a bit of time actually for the rest of their team, because Fielder is very, very close to building this Coalescence. The bomb, not sure where that Self-Destruct landed, but Fate will go down regardless. Doa trying to search for that teleport, will eventually reach the staircase, and now we can start just pumping lead into the opposition. Coalescence as well, going to be giving them the boost they need as they make their way around the corner, pick up the rest of the players on the Shanghai Dragons.
Sparkle with another really key self-destruct there too. His duplicates have been phenomenal. Every time just picking up that Diva, getting so much damage out, and then the self-destruct positioning and timing is superb. Fate is now stuck behind, 2 minutes on the clock. The constant cart pressure here is important, because Dallas Fuel's composition always wants to be hunting for the kills, not playing around the objective. So Fate may be able to force a really uncomfortable scenario for Dallas here, where they have to give up the high ground or something. And Shanghai have an advantage in terms of their Coalescence charge right now.
They certainly do. Ultimates are going to be expended here. Doha, yeah, not going to be getting anything done with that Death Blossom. And now the re-engage comes through. Shanghai trying to make it happen. Fearless goes down. Sound barrier from both of these teams. Fate, though, also falling, so no main tanks on either side. Shanghai still, though, with the positioning now as they're pushing forwards past. And now look at that, the Self-Destruct of Void as well. It's just going to be clipping onto Jexa. Unable to survive that one. Maybe just was in range of it, as perhaps maybe coming around that corner. The fight continues, but it feels like it's going to be short work there for the Shanghai Dragons. Going to get that cap up now. 2.5 minutes, pushing this further forward in Rialto.
Really good work there. They dodged Doha's Death Blossom. A good boop, I believe, by Lee Jae-gon there, redeeming himself somewhat for all of these dropped sound barriers. And then they pushed back in with their own, and Lip was just able to get tons more value. His team supporting him as he forged a path deeper and deeper into enemy territory.
Trying to get the pressure there. Fleder actually using that duplicate as he fell quite low, ends up using it on the Reaper, so has the Death Blossom built up very quickly. And while all that's going on, Fearless corralled into the corner. Fleder using the Death Blossom as well. It pushes them even deeper here. Coalescence used, but Fielder goes down in the middle of it, wasting the Coalescence. The Dragons might be evening out this fight, and I think the advantage should still lie to the Dallas Fuel, but they're going to look to re-engage this one, and they have the Coalescence to turn the fight, Josh.
Yeah, Doha falls, and now Dallas, they're going to have another opportunity the Dragons have another opportunity to push in here with another Coalescence. Lip is going to look for a large teleport here, I think. You can see him making a flank around the left-hand side, seeing if he can get in. If he finds a timing, no, he's just going to reconnect back with the team, use his defense matrix to forge a path again once more.
Yeah, piercing straight through the middle of them. The Coalescence, it comes up big, actually, setting up The kill for Fleder onto Sparkle. Doha just, again, he's going to be taken out of that Ray form, can't do anything. And Shanghai Dragons, they look unstoppable at the moment. They're not going to be denied this capture still. Hanbin's certainly going to try with the self-destruction comes through! What in the Lord's name was that? Oh my word, Void. Little 5-piece.
I have never seen a 5k self-destruct without as much of a setup. There was no big graviton surge there. There's no big, there's no crazy halt play. Just perfect timing from Void when all of the abilities were on cooldown from Dallas and all milling around the objective. Yeah. 5 kills, the pentakill from Void to close it out with a minute in the time bank. Brent, the momentum in this series has flipped on its head. The first 2 maps could not have been more in favor of the Dallas Fuel. It was like Shanghai were absent from them completely. And the pace at which they're now playing, the way in which they're finding their win conditions and forcing mistakes out of Dallas, it's crazy. This is a different team.
It could have been a completely different. I want to see how this happens. If this bomb doesn't get off here by Void, I mean, a 5k for the bomb. The bubble was already weak, and it was sent straight up into the air. It just fades. It just fades in time for Void to get that kill. And they were all out of line of sight of it. They had the kill advantage as well. Could have been a different story there.
They were also all trying to hide behind the pillar, Brent. And Lee Jae-gon got a boop onto one of them. He didn't get the boop onto everybody, otherwise obviously it would come up in the kill feed, but I think even the threat just forced them out. And when you're trying to dodge a self-destruct with 5 players behind one tiny little Greek pillar, that is...
They took some influence from the Greeks, don't get me wrong.
Sure, yeah.
They definitely took some influence from the Greeks.
I don't even want to get into the architectural debate. Architecture, the mythology...
now who's making the mistakes? Now who's making the mistakes? Anyway, the fight's kicked off. Indoors already. Shanghai are trying to stop them actually in a close quarters fight here. Dallas, this is where they're comfortable. And you can already see the sticky bombs forcing Void so low. Has to back off all the way up around the corner. So low. Gets healed up though in the process, but the Coalescence advantage. Take a look at the top of your screens. It's Fielder with the big one. About 20% better.
They can just absorb damage much more effectively.
Oh, they're going to go in here with a Cole. 100%, yeah. This is a bad timing to take this team fight. Ideally, you're trying to get at least, maximizing value, taking multiple team fights here on Checkpoint A, but the Dragons did not stand a chance. They dragged that out for so long. The Dallas Fuel obviously are comfortable fighting like that, especially when they come up with the Coalescence advantage. Fielder's so good at building it up.
And it's not just Fielder though, it's because they're playing with a Winston. Fearless can take poke damage, back off and get healed up, whereas Fate is trying to play off health packs instead. He's not feeding damage and therefore healing into Izayaki. So Izayaki, he can't do anything about it. Amora can't invent healing out of nowhere, so he's just at a Coalescence disadvantage in all of these first fights.
Fleder just about finding the mark there. Shanghai, okay, obliterating them. Yeah, Dallas thought they were going to get something going there, but denied straight away. That's the Coalescence. And Fate with the boops as well. That's quite cheeky. Fearless in the drink.
I like that. Good aggression as well from the Dragons. That allows them to hold on to not just the high ground control, but this tiny choke point as well. Dallas are going to have a massive spawn advantage, but for Shanghai, they don't care. It's just about ticking time off the clock. 4 minutes, 25 seconds on the clock for Dallas, and they want to get that down, deep down. Dallas have a lot of ults to be able to fight this, but the more they get dragged out, the happier Shanghai will be.
So much damage on Izayaki though, and they force the fade out. They know he's weak, he doesn't have to fade. That's what Fearless is hunting for right now, and it forces out the beat from Lee Jae-gon. It's going to be used to keep them alive, but now it's a better one from Jexa, and Void gets demeched. This is a team fight that is going the way of Dallas right now. Ultimates might have to be committed for Shanghai to try and turn it. They're just trying to disengage out of this one, but yeah, Fleder, Hanbin, and Fate are going to be falling, and the Dragons out of there. Do not want to be taking this one. Dallas Fuel now with prime opportunity, I think, to try and hold right around this corner, stop Shanghai from taking control of that staircase.
It's only worthwhile for Shanghai to take that extra fight if they still have good positioning for this one. You can't give up the whole of the map in order to take an extra team fight. And they're back. They have high ground control, can respond with a Coalescence.
Lee Jae-gon goes into the drink, I think. That was Sparkle. Yeah. Moving over to the Diva with the boosters, pushing him away. Now the self-destruct goes right over the corner, forces all of them indoors. There's, yeah, a lot of bombs being utilized. In the process, though, Fearless falls, and that was a bit of a setup there. Flutter getting that kill, thanks for the beam. Now the Coalescence from Fielder just to try and maybe turn this fight around in Dallas's favor, but I don't know if it's going to be happening. Now that the bomb is being committed over the top, Death Blossom needs to force Doha down, and that's it. Wasn't able to use the Ray Form, obviously, in the middle of using that ultimate. Makes him quite weak and susceptible to being forced down. And now Shanghai, I think they could be quite pleased with this, getting a lot of these pickoffs, these end kills here. Really valuable stuff, actually, being able to just delay and buy as much time as possible.
And look how tight Shanghai are playing now. In prior maps, when they were playing against any team, honestly, Shanghai had a tendency to overstep themselves, chasing for those straggler kills, trying to pick off individuals so that the spawn queue would keep refreshing with the targets. But now they're looking really tight, really coordinated. Managed to get the cleanup there, and they're going to fight again. Izzyaki with a Coalescence, surely no follow-up though.
Well, here's the thing, Lip also wanted a TP, maybe to use the Death Blossom, but they punished him instantly. Had to use the Ray Form, and now, okay, they're like, oh, we're going to get the cooldowns out of you once again. And now they're going to be pushing in with the Coalescence. Jexa using his Sound Barrier, a little bit later than Lee J gone. It's a big advantage of the double support ults. That bomb as well, going to be stopping Lip from spinning around, dealing that much damage to the Death Blossom. Fearless just doing Fearless things in the back line. Already separating away the Echo player, forcing the duplicate out of Fleder. And look at that leaps as well. Knew exactly how to time it, so he's going to be getting back to the safety of his team. Still, the fight does not end, though. Fleder just trying to stall it out, but he's going to be brought down inevitably. Taken out of the Winston form once again, and the Dragons are trying to contest this one with the kill on Sparkle. It might be doable, but I don't think they've got the healing for it. Doha is just doing a lot of good damage to them.
Fate's going to come in the minefield with this as well. I'm not sure why. That would have been a very useful tool to be able to hold on to checkpoint C with its tiny choke point. Unless Fate's going to make the change over to Winston, but I don't think that would be advisable either. The Dragons have been generating really good value out of that pick. So simply a wasted ultimate coming out there. Nevertheless, Dallas, with only 2.5 minutes on the clock, are going to be hard-pressed to match the same pace that the Dragons set.
They're certainly going to try. You can see they took the initiative again. But this time the Dragons are the one who come out on top, and because of Fleder with these flank angles, no one's really putting enough damage onto him, trying to mark him. And look at that, the power driver right in close quarters. It sets up Fleder beautifully again.
Yeah, this coordination is so much better than when the Dragons played against Dallas the first time around. That time, Fleder was playing majority Soldier 76 instead of the Echo, so just at the hero select screen, they've made better decisions, but also their coordination is so much better. Just Fleder's maneuverability and mobility and just the entire damage output that he can give is so good for following up on Fate.
This is so good by Shanghai again with the Coalescence. It's going to be the self-destructive response of it, just to try and put off the damage, but Fearless goes down! He's out, that's no promo range! Oh,
he slapped those
word.
stickies on the wall to be able to kill Fearless as he dropped back down. Legion boops Hanbin, mech and all into the drink. Jexa getting moment of his own. But this is all just time off the clock. Dallas are not going to be able to set a better time than the Dragons.
Really
just to get out of this spawn.
Yeah, I mean, again, you talk about wasted ults just a moment ago from Fate, but they could have used that in that upcoming team fight. I think Dallas feeling a little bit pressured right now as well from this pace that Shanghai are putting in their face. They're playing so quickly, going so low. It's going to be committing the beat so that his team stays into this one. Fleder actually got the duplicate off, but now he's on the Moira. Nevertheless, even if it wasn't his intended target, he's going to be trying to make the most of it, trying to build up the Coalescence, but it might be too late. They're missing a decent amount of damage because of it. Fleder removed from that form, out of the Coalescence. Izzyaki goes down at 97%, and Dallas Fuel are looking to push this cart now.
Nevertheless, the Dragons are doing an excellent job here and just halting the momentum of Dallas. And all of this proactivity, how fast they're playing. They have upped the tempo enormously here. They were so slow, I compared them to a tortoise when it came to Volskaya. And now Dallas Fuel, they're on the back foot repeatedly.
Coalescence is traded, Izzyaki using it to try and offset again Fielder's ultimate. Having to use that Ray form, yeah. Fade is in the backline as well. He's causing so many issues for him. Very low, has to roll away, get that mega health back, and Hanbin ends up going down here on the defense. The Shanghai Dragons now realize there's blood in the water. They can potentially follow up, maybe get a couple of more picks, but One mistake could be it. Lip and Fate go down. You cannot be telling me that the Dallas Fuel are just finding a way into this.
They will still get spawners through though, so Shanghai, they can delay for a little while. Fate and Void getting close to their ultimates. Lee Jae-gon will come back with a beat. Unless Lee Jae-gon does Lee Jae-gon things, that could be a tool that they use to be able to delay this and maybe turn the fight in their favor.
Though. The overtime spawns. The Fade has to be used. They need to push this, or just stopping at 0.95 meters in the end, but they get booped off. That's the Wrecking Ball in play, I think, as well. Coming out as Hanbin came back to stall, so they get the capture. They get a minute to work with. What a map thus far between these two teams.
Crazy scenario. Dallas battling back. I thought for a moment there that they weren't even going to be able to complete the map. If it wasn't for those overtime spawns, I think the Dragons would have been able to come back in and potentially turn that one around. Good presence of mind as well from Sparkle towards the end, who had duplicated the Diva and threw the self-destruct into a spawn door just to stop the Dragons from getting out that little second more. Made all the difference in the end. Nevertheless, Dragons have 1 minute and 4 seconds more to play with.
I want to point out like this weird interaction that could take place here as well with this time bank difference. If Dallas Fuel take a long drawn out fight like we saw previously on their attack as well, and they get the overtime spawns in effect, could be quite big for them. I mean, I'm just kind of putting it out there as something to look out for as well, because Rialto is kind of, it's an important map to take team fights at important locations, like around this corner, just before they capture checkpoint A. And if you disrupt that in any way as well with the spawn timings, there's a weird circumstance where it might end up being better here for Dallas. Nevertheless, yeah, we will see if that is the case.
It happens sometimes on Gibraltar as well. I don't think they can bank on it. You'd always rather have more time on the clock.
Of course, yeah.
But certainly there can be weird interactions. I don't know way. Doha dies immediately?
Did Doha just TP?
I don't know. Lip must have been hiding around a corner or something. There's no way that Doha knew he was there and doesn't use raid form and just dies immediately. That was that's an unfortunate early loss with Dallas. But nevertheless, the spawners are right there.
Yeah, he's going to be back momentarily. But Shanghai are so good with these engagements. The pile drive comes through. Jexa, he can't escape the damage. The momentum was halted. 20 seconds remaining. Shanghai at the spawn door, and yeah, this is a completely different Shanghai Dragons. This championship mentality that's just shining right now in this series. A completely different team than what we saw in that first round of matches that occurred in the June Joust Tournament. Still, Fleder goes down now to Coalescence timing. Izayaki does not have it. 10% and counting. He needs to just bide his time, and Fate is doing a decent job of stopping this one. But however, the overtime's now going to start ticking over. Izayaki might opt to try and contest this one when Fate gets back in. They are going to get another recontest no matter what here. Although it wouldn't matter in the grand scheme of things as it is the overtime. But Shanghai in prime position now to take this. And look at this approach, Josh.
They're flanking around the side. Fate with an engagement, and it's perfectly timed with the rest of the Dragons. There comes the Coalescence. Lee Jae-gon so close to that beat as well. And Fate will have the mines to try and push them off the payload. But this hasn't really worked. The Dallas Fuel have zoned them off and found the first pick.
Fearless, though, traded out. No main tanks on either side. Hanbin comes through. That's going to be a self-destruct. And now the duplicates also coming down. Sparkle with the self-destruct in the back. Lip and Lee Jae-gon did not have the cooldowns to survive it. Didn't have the mobility either. That's going to be Fleder removed away again from that duplicate form. And this is the scenario I was talking into existence, Josh. The overtime spawners come through. It's going to be late spawns coming out now. It means actually I think Fleder and Izayaki get spawned back.
But they don't punish those early spawners. So I think it was Lip and Lee Jae-gon got the forward spawn, but Dallas weren't in a position to try and punish them. That's the problem. If those guys get punished and they get sent back to the spawn queue, then a big snowball can take place. As it is, you're just relying on the double support ultimates here from Jexa and Fielder, and Sparkle's already dead.
Yep, Sparkle goes down. That is a lot of your damage. Missing, but Lee Jae-gon is going to be stomped out of existence there. And that is a brutal one for them. The Coalescence committed as Fielder just needs to clean this one up. Doha also goes over the edge. That was Void with the boosters. What an impeccable play right in the nick of time for them. Izayaki comes back in with the Coalescence. Is going to give them a big health advantage, and Hanbin will be cleaned up. Dallas still trying to hold on to this one. The spawners are coming a little bit later now for them here. Void straight back up to the high ground, trying to push them away. It is a hard fight to win, but with Fearless going down, it's made just that bit easier. The mines as well will stop them from contesting, and as they boop away the remnants, they're going to be stopping Dallas Fuel before they really start to get some speed underneath them.
Fate's Wrecking Ball is doing so much, and it is so good, Brent, to see the rest of Shanghai actually capitalizing on it. Time and again, these pile drives come through and there is follow-up. At the very end there, just to pick off Fearless, but over and over at the beginning. And I don't know whether you've noticed, but Jexa has tried to make a bit of an adjustment here. He was originally trying to use his speed to get past Fate, and now what I've noticed from Dallas is, as they're attacking, Jexa is holding the speed until Fate actually goes for the pile drive, and then he's trying to use the speed to just get out of the way of it, or to kind of activate it as it happens so that they have a little bit of extra momentum with which to not get hit by the follow-up damage. These small micro-adaptations are happening over and over throughout this match between these two teams. Just Shanghai with a counter, Dallas Fuel trying to not change up their composition as a strategy to mix things up, but just the way in which they're playing and the timing of their engagements. It all has to be shifted around in a delicate balance.
Yeah, certainly. And yeah, it's tiny things as well that are going to go over most of our heads, I think, unless you really have an astute eye for it. Maybe going for the replay viewer.
Definitely.
As well. Afterwards, yeah. It's very difficult within these compositions to try and find what exactly they're doing to turn things around in the heat of the moment. But Shanghai know exactly what they've got to do here. The cart's going to start moving here. They've got 2 minutes to work with. They can see the end goal in sight. Evening up this series would be phenomenal for them.
Fate looking for a flank there. And Jexa positions himself to get ready for a boot to deny. Now that Fate
high ground taken,
the rest of his team. Teleports back up to the high ground. Has to pop his Wraith Form.
The Wraith Form
already.
Yep, they're trying to get the punish here off onto Doha, but the peel is good from Dallas. Fate just rolling through, and again, no Wraith Form for Doha. There's the punish. They're finding it, the TP into the backline. Lip immediately finding that big onto Jexa. That is ridiculous. And that immediately means Dallas are like, okay, we do not want to fight this. We're going to be backing up before we lose anybody else. We have, again, the Coalescence advantage, of course, as a result. You pointed it out earlier with them running Fearless on the Winston. It means they can get more of that healing off, and they are going to get this contest happening. Pile driver again, so much damage into them. Lip almost cleaving through Fielder and stopping that Coalescence in his tracks, but it's shifted. The momentum flipped on its head once more. Dallas stopping him just shy of that checkpoint A.
Nice attempt, though, from the Dragons. The follow-up there could have been good enough to just get a kill, but it wasn't quite there. Fleder, I don't think, got involved in that as much as he would have liked to, and the damage coming out from Fate and Lip just wasn't quite enough when you consider that Fielder had a Coalescence up the entire time as well. Now, though, it's dangerous for Dallas. They have that duplicate, which Sparkle will probably be using onto a D.Va.
They're going aggressive.
They have so many tools.
They know that they have the Coalescence. They decided to take the fight to them. Li Jae-gon using his sound barrier doesn't connect onto too many targets at all. Fleder, he's desperately searching for a target, has to drop out of the way of that South Destruct coming through. Fearless using the Primal Rage as well. A couple of people from Dallas falling quite weak. Now the South Destruct comes up over again, and Aziaki didn't have the fade. This fight seems to be going the way of Dallas, but only for a moment. Still, Shanghai still want to be fighting this one. Now, the duplicate committed. Fleder in the D.Va form once more. Has to build up the South Destruct. This is the only thing that's going to be saving them here as the overtime is burning. They are desperately trying to win this one, but he's going to be burned out of the form. The bomb gets nothing done, and Dallas still in control. The card does not seem to be moving. Fate just rolling around trying to avoid all that damage, trying to keep the overtime ticking so that his team can come back in, but it might be too late here, Josh.
It certainly looks like it. The overtime wick is burning, and Dallas, they're in firm control. Sparkle back over to the Doomfist, his signature pick, and he punches, stamps the Dallas Fuel's third map win onto the board. It looked like Rialto was definitely going the way of the Dragons early on, but Dallas Fuel are just inexorable. Every time you feel like you've got them on the back foot, they respond, they find the adaptation. And they stopped all of that aggression, everything that Shanghai was doing so beautifully here on this fourth map. It ended up not mattering. The Void 5k self-destruct, it all doesn't matter in the end, because Dallas will chalk up another one on the board. 3-1. What a comeback this would have to be for Shanghai.
And that's what we're all wondering, I think, on the other side of this break as well. Of course, the series is going to be continuing, but my question is, do the Shanghai Dragons still have that championship mentality, the veteran presence that's on this team? They need to keep their head into the game here because the series is not over yet. Despite that, Dallas Fuel one map away from being your June Joust champions. We'll see you in just a few.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile.
Welcome back from the break, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at our Indeed player resume here. We got Fearless, the Dallas Fuel, and his accomplishments are numerous. As you can see, 2020 Raw Star, Melee Countdown Cup champion. That was when he was playing on the Shanghai Dragons, his current opponent. But most importantly as well, more recently, 2021 Melee champion. He's looking to make it a two-peat, I suppose, in the grand scheme of 2021.
I like the phrase two-peat. We have a word for that. It's repeat. That's why the word.
No,
that's why we
I
say three-peat,
prefer.
because it rhymes with repeat.
I prefer two-peat.
Two-peat. Okay. Well, we'll try and make that a thing. Yeah, Fearless though, he has just been extraordinary, man. He was clearly the best player when it came to the main melee, and I think he's low-key. It's exceptionally good in this meta as well. The reason I say low-key is because he doesn't have those huge flashy primal rages. He doesn't get a nano boost and is able to tear the other team in half. But whenever anyone else has tried to play the Winston at this high of a level, they end up making mistakes, getting punished on the regular. We saw Gator manage to, or rather, we saw Gator try to play the Winston into what Shanghai Dragons were running and ended up getting minced. We saw Yakpung in the June Joust just getting splattered all over the place as well. And Fate, whenever he tried to match the Winston, was not able to get almost any work done compared to his Wrecking Ball. So I think Fearless deserves enormous credit for the amount of value he's able to generate on that Winston. Not just for himself, but for the rest of his team too. For example, charging up those fielder coalescences. It's just phenomenal.
And we're heading over to Busan. This is the map that's going to be deciding quite a lot. Will the series end here? Will the Dallas Fuel get that second tournament win in 2021? Or is it the Shanghai Dragons on the come up again, trying to battle back, as we've been referring to time and time again over the course of this series? Control maps. Josh, how are you feeling in terms of this one? Like, which side would this be favoring overall?
Well, I'm really wondering what Shanghai are even going to run here. I think that's my primary concern, Bren, is not necessarily the
You don't want
map
to see the
pick.
legs?
It's what Shanghai are going to be picking. When they began on Busan, and when they played Busan against NYXL as well, they ran Fleder on the Soldier 76, and they had Lip playing Ash. And I feel like from an outside point of view, it is very obvious that composition is not going to work at this point. So what does Shanghai go for? It looks initially like we're just going to get the same kind of thing. That warms my heart, Bren. It gives me hope for the Shanghai Dragons.
There we go. Hopefully we're going to be seeing this one go the absolute distance. Remember, it is map point here for the Dallas Fuel, walking away with $100,000, 3 tournament points as well, which plays into the standings. That's what they're going to be fighting for, and a nice pile drive engage comes out from Shanghai. Fleder, though, was too low to really follow up on it, actually. They were getting chunked down a little bit earlier, and it gave Dallas Fuel the opening they needed. Already getting those 2 pickoffs. They're going to be getting control of the point as soon as it unlocks. As you pointed out Josh, earlier. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, say your point.
Well, Izyaki's been isolated so early on, and he was the opening kill here. And now Fielder has 80% of his ultimate. He's a full 50% ahead, which gives them so much opportunity to just play aggressively in the second fight. This could be Dallas just getting up to an early snowball purely off the back of that opening Moira pick.
And with positioning, they can play aggressive just like this. Fate's trying to disrupt it with the power driver. It's done a decent amount of work. Doa does go down, but the coalescence is too overpowering. Lip's going to be beamed down, and it's set up a lot of the kills now for them to follow up here. The D-Mech will come through as Yaki goes down as well. And, yeah, not looking too hot for them. The fact that they got out of that as well without losing too many players, it means that Fielder, I mean, he's not going to be too close to the coalescence, I suppose, but the thing is, they take a long, drawn-out team fight again. You got to imagine they might be having these coalescences on roughly the same time, or maybe not, actually, as Iziyaki is 80% and counting.
Yeah, Fielder's not really... The rest of Dallas aren't taking any poke damage early on, but now Fearless is looking to engage. Double tank ultimate means that both of those players can play incredibly aggressively, and they forced out that sound barrier immediately for the Dragons.
The mines get used defensively as well to push them away. Fearless so low. He's going to be at least forcing the fade out of Iziyaki, and that's an instant coalescence. Jexay wants to match it. He's trying to buy time with that sound barrier. Power driver into the self-destruct. Fielder caught! Not able to build up the coalescence, but the remake kill from Sparkle kills Lee Jae gone. It could still be winnable right now for either side. Both are going to be trying their hardest. Fleder with the beam down. Sparkle not going to be getting away with that one as he was trying to dive onto the back line of Shanghai. Seeing now just the cleanup for the Shanghai Dragons, but the damage might already be done here. Dallas Fuel with 90% on the board in this initial round.
90%. They've taken 3 team fights. The first one where they won by killing Iziyaki. The second one they won because they'd already killed Iziyaki the first time. And then the third one, they lose, but they still get up to 90%. This is Dallas Fuel in a nutshell right here. So good at snowballing advantages for themselves. And Iziyaki forced to use his coalescence here just to heal up his tanks. This opens up the door for Dallas.
That's not ideal at all. And you can see the aggression, the thought process here from Shanghai. They think, okay, we'll go with the mines, but Dallas, they push right past it. Lee Jae gone. He's taken out. Not going to be giving those team any heals, no speed boost in action. Doa does not have the raid form, and that power driver does set up the kill onto him, but might be too late here as Fearless is getting A lot done now with that Primal Rage. Fate just trying to stall this one out, but he's going to get chased down there by Hanbin and Jexa. 95%. And they've got the Self-Destruct, and they've got the Death Blossom. Lee Jae-gon's caught in the back line there, so they have to use the Ray form just to contest it, but that's not going to be good enough.
It certainly doesn't look like it. Izzyaki falls once more as Shanghai desperately bleed players back in over and over. But it's Dallas. It's Dallas all the way. It always has been. And they take their first step in what could potentially be the final map of the series towards those 3 league.
That's what they're looking at. The $100,000 is certainly nice, but they're not going to be scoffing at that, of course. The league points, though, at the end of the year, are going to be playing so important in the grand scheme of things as well, looking for that better seeding in the overall playoffs that are going to be occurring later on in the year. And the Dallas Fuel, obviously 1 round away from that. The Shanghai Dragons, they've got to come back from this. This is where the champions are really forged. If they're able to come back, get the win, even when they're down in maps, even when they're down in rounds here, it could be monumental.
This is where Wrecking Ball can be very powerful as well. The city center of Busan. There are a lot of corridors, areas to snarl up the Dallas Fuel. Fate going aggressive early on. Big pile drive here. No major
set up a lot of damage.
Sparkle is so weak.
Yep, and that is going to be the kill. It sets up Fleder for the beam. It puts him below that 50% health threshold. The D-Mech onto Hanbin as well. Izzyaki goes down early, though. That's a really big pick-off. Yeah, I mean, Izzuyaki's not going to be getting back to build up this Coalescence, so Dallas Fuel's still fighting this with the heal advantage. I think they are going to be losing this off the back of losing this many players. But the downside is they're going to have this big Coalescence disadvantage.
Dallas are going to recognize that. You can't help but know that Fielder has a Coalescence way earlier than Izzyaki, and so they can push back in. Shanghai need a plan to try and mitigate this advantage that the Dallas Fuel have. Some big pile driver engage again, or trying to play slowly and push back in with the beat. There needs to be a plan here for the Dragons. What is it?
Okay, well, Fielder just uses the Fate to engage deeper into the enemy territory. See the Coalescence being used. That is so aggressive from Fielder, and he's going to get punished for it. The Dragons, a beautiful disengage, baiting him right round the corner. Lee Jae-gon leading his team in now with the beat. The Soundbar is going to be giving them all the heals. Self-Destruct still an option here for Hanbin, but the Dragons still in control of the point still. Lip trying to get away with that Death Blossom, but he is punished through it. The Defense Matrix can't save him through the beam damage that Sparkle was outputting. The point very close to getting flipped over to the Dallas Fuel. Sparkle using that duplicate just in time, almost going down in the process. But the Dragons, hopefully with this Coalescence, they've got enough tools at their disposal to try and at least win off this team fight. Cut it off cleanly. And it looks like they are going to do just that. It was looking messy, though.
It was messy, and yet the Dragons maintain control of the objective throughout the entirety of that. Able to ping-pong people in and out, and they're up to 70% right now. Dallas had a major advantage in that re-engage, and it's squandered. The Dallas Fuel now don't have that many tools to be able to work with. Sure, they have a big Death Blossom that could be enormous from Doha, and a beat to engage with, but Dragons have already showcased that they're good at being able to disengage.
Hard driver from Fate, straight into the high ground with the mines laid down, but Lip goes down. Going to be missing a ton of damage when your Reaper's not in these fights. Dallas Fuel, oh wow. Yeah, they're absolutely going to be taking advantage of that one. The point, probably going to be going their way momentarily.
Yeah, Dallas are getting so much free space. Whenever Dallas have an ultimate advantage, Shanghai Dragons don't necessarily want to engage off the Fate's pile drivers. And so Dallas are just disrespecting them. They just keep walking forwards, forging a path, not using their engagement utility. They're not really using their leap or their boosters. They're just walking at Lip. And then when he tries to disengage, then they'll leap on top of him. And Lip fell really early in that fight to allow Dallas Fuel an entry back in. Fielder again ahead of Izzyaki when it comes to this ultimate charge.
One team fight though, that's all Shanghai need to look forward to. They win that, take the point, that's going to be the round for them, but Dallas are not going to be letting up. The pressure is relentless from them. Teleport from Doha, yep, setting up that kill with the Death Blossom. And of course Lip, yeah, unable to really escape from this one. Nice team fight win here for the Dallas Fuel. Shanghai though, obviously going to be coming back into this one. They're looking at their ultimates and they're thinking, well, we've got a pretty big war chest now to try and take away this round. Double support ults, potentially even the Self-Destruct as well.
Dallas have been in this position many times, though, and we often see Fearless and Hanbin using their ultimates to stop the follow-up from the support ultimates, and then Sparkle close something out with a crazy ultimate. I wouldn't count the Dallas Fuel out, even though they're at a disadvantage here.
Fleder using that duplicate. He's already been chunked down. The heals are going to come through as Iaki does not want to be using his ultimate. Sparkle built up the bomb, though. He's going to be laying that down. They're not going to be putting in any pressure here. You can see Fearless using that Primal Rage. He's already in the backline, very, very low. Probably going to be taken out. Yeah, the Self-Destruct is going to do that one. The beam comes through. It connects. Sparkle goes down. The tri-shots as well. Fleder, what a clutch moment. Ripping it away from them. And the Dallas Fuel wiped out. The overtime is going to come through. They're going to get a couple of bodies onto the point, but with the control of the objective, Shanghai can just punish them as they try and walk in.
Brent, this is Shanghai Dragons round. The Dallas Fuel, Sparkle going to Desperation Doomfist, pooped up in the air, can't even complete this Seismic Slam. And we have a game on our hands as well, as Lip cleans up these final bodies. It bears mentioning, Brent, how amazing it is that the Shanghai Dragons have been able to learn this composition in such a tiny amount of time, refine it over the course of the June Joust Tournament, and pose a serious threat here to the Dallas Fuel.
The resilience from the Dragons is unbelievable. And of course, we're still one round away from the Dallas Fuel taking away the June Joust finals. Don't get me wrong here, but the Shanghai Dragons, I mean, a lot of teams in that situation, they just end up crumbling because it can feel so terrible to go up against that early round deficit. This is a team, though, they've been around the block, and they know exactly how to be playing into this one. It's not their first time playing in these final scenarios. It won't be the last. And they're looking to continue this a little bit further now. One round is what it's coming down to here on Busan. And yeah, Josh, you pointing out how well the Dragons have been able to adjust in such a short amount of time. It's nothing short of impeccable.
It's scary how fast this team is at learning. Dallas Fuel have weeks of advantages in terms of practicing this meta. And with how the Dragons have been playing in these final couple of maps, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't even know it. Dragons again find the opening pick. It's always onto Sparkle, Brent. They're finding these pile drive initiations onto Sparkle over and over and over.
And you can feel momentum just slipping ever so slightly. The Dragons not willing to give up, not willing to relent. That's the first teamfight win for them in a very, very critical round. So the point is going to be in their control. They have the positioning now as well. And more importantly as well, how many times have we seen the coalescence difference between both of these teams? This time it's quite even.
It is, it's very even. Field is managing to build up a little bit there off the back of some damage coming in from Fleder, but overall it's going to be pretty simple. Fate just needs to scout here. He's looking for pile drive initiations once more. But having not been able to stop them at the choke point, this is probably just going to be him rolling through everybody and then looking for an initiation afterwards.
Fielder had to use his Fate just to avoid the pile driver there coming through from Fate. And now there's Coalescence. Shanghai just playing incredibly split. The duplicate is used by Fleder. Doha taken out. Self-destruct into the backline. Not going to be getting any kills, but it does push them back. And Dallas now, they have to regroup and recontest this one. Off the back of those two picks, might just be doable for them. But Izzyaki comes in with a later Coalescence. They're still trying to commit to this fight despite the numbers disadvantage. Void though, demeched. And Jexa using that sound barrier on top just to really seal the deal. Void gets that recon. I think that did a decent chunk of damage in the end to Fearless, but he's so close to that Primal Rage, he pops it almost instantly. The Self-Destructs are being traded out all over the bloody shop, and Sparkle with the recall kill onto Lee Jae Gon. Just searching desperately for an opening here, but Lip opens it up again, swinging it in their favor. 2 kills off the Death Blossom. Coalescence coming out from Fielder now, and Doha wants to really put a stop to it. The Death Blossom will end it with those 3 kills, but at what cost?
That's the point, Brent. At what cost? The Dallas Fuel had to use both DPS ultimates, both support ultimates, and Fearless made the swap over to Wrecking Ball to get back into the fight. The Dragons got up to 69% there and forced so much out of Dallas. They are really making the main melee champions sweat right now.
Fade, of course, this constant pressure that he's putting in the back line. Dallas are like, okay, we'll leave Fade onto the point. Jexa, you can take care of him. We need to take this team fight at the choke point. But it is such a nuisance. He's always distracting, always pulling them back, and it gives Shanghai a bit of room to breathe. They're going to be pushing in now with the Coalescence. The power drive engage is good. It forces out cooldowns now from Dallas. Not going to have those defensive abilities now for this later fight. The mine's also pushing them away from the point. So Dallas, they can't really play into this one. It does so much damage to Hanbin. He gets demeched instantly in another great power drive from Fate.
He's finding so many of them. Also, the minefield just perfectly laid down, leading on towards the end, getting that boot kill onto Fielder 2.
I can't believe they're staggering Doha.
Yeah, they're now... it's crazy, isn't it? They're now in the lead massively here. The Shanghai Dragons about to stop this potential championship point from the Dallas Fuel. They only needed one more round, but now there's only one more fight.
Another power drive engage from Fate. Coalescence off to the side. Lip does not have the damage. In fact, he doesn't even have the I mean, he had the Wraith form, but he didn't opt to using it. He gets removed from the fight. They're going to be missing so much damage now. You can't tell me the Dragons are crumbling right now, right here. The recall comes through. In the end, Void will be brought down, but the self-destruct already did the business. Jexa with the sound barrier needs to keep the team back into this one. Sparkle trying to survive, but Doha, the Death Blossom, it's too good. And it forced the fade out and got Izzyaki so loaded. Hambing can clean up the rest of that kill. Lip has to come up with money here. The Wraith form available. One shot to the head, but it's not enough. Overtime burning for them. The Dallas Fuel just about ripping it away, and they're going to be in control.
Lip is going to be kicking himself for giving away that early elimination. With Wraith form active, the teleport into the backline, he had about 85% of his ult. If he'd been able to get the Death Blossom off, that could have been the fight win for the Dragons and securing Busan. And now they have an uphill battle. They only need one team fight, sure, but they're fighting into both tank ultimates. Jexa with the support ultimate as well. The Dragons are going to need magic here. Maybe Lip can redeem himself with a fat Death Blossom.
Well, the boot misses there from Jexa. You can see the coalescence of Izzyaki and the mines. So much damage. Doha brought down to barely any health.
They used the beat just to keep Doha.
Comes through. Yeah, and the beat is going to be keeping them alive. Boop away again. Self-destruct up the top. It catches onto Lee Jae Gon. 85% in counting. You cannot tell me the Dragons are out like this.
This would be heartbreak, devastation for the Dragons. Twice making it to the grand finals in 2021. Twice getting sent back. They are so close to being able to extend this to a 5th map. Fate touches Brand.
The overtime comes through. Fate just trying to keep this one, drag it out. Fledado has to assume the form of the Diva to just stay alive. Almost getting demeked in the process. Lip TP into the backline, but shut down in the process. The Dragons might just be ending this one here. Fielder falling means no more heals now for the Dallas Fuel, and a great engagement. They've ripped the point away. Again, control is in their hands. The overtime goes, and they're just going to be dumping bodies onto the point to keep it going. Fearless, though, cannot withstand that kind of pressure. And the Dragons are going to be taking Busan. They're not going to be denied just yet. They want it to go the distance.
Incredible scenes from the Dragons in that final fight. Managing to muscle through. The championship mentality from this team, Brent, is just abnormal. They will not admit that they're out of a series at any point. 3-1 down with Dallas about to win, and they don't give up at any point. Everybody still firing on all cylinders, determined to get themselves back into the game and put a title underneath their belts. That is absurd stuff, and this series, it just keeps going.
It's the pride of the APAC region that's sitting on Shanghai Dragons' shoulders. The community narrative, I think, across the board, especially analysts as well, have been saying, you know, APAC has been the weaker region in general, and they're trying to showcase that that is not going to be happening here in the June Joust. Going to go to a short break, and on the other side of things, we're going to see just how this series is going to be continuing. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. You know you do not want to miss it.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back from the break. Everybody, as you can see, the Dallas Fuel hunkered down. They are focused on the task at hand. And it's all really coming down to the wire. History potentially repeating itself as well, actually. The May Melee in 2021 was the Dallas Fuel versus the Shanghai Dragons, and that was a Dallas Fuel win, 4-2. Obviously, the Dragons are looking to upset those kind of expectations. They're definitely trying to put a wrench into the plans of the potential repeat of history.
It did go, though. In the May Melee, it went 3-1 to the Fuel. Then on Control, Shanghai Dragons started to come back. It's 3-2. And then as we went forwards, Dallas Fuel were able to close it out. So Shanghai are desperately going to hope to avoid that repeat of history. But for Dallas, it almost seems poetic that they're in the exact same scenario with the team that has been primed here, it feels, to be back-to-back stage champions in the 2021 season. They have certainly been tested in a way that no other team has tested them. Since they lost, actually, in the regular season of the June Joust to the San Francisco Shock, they have rebounded, looked incredible, and retooled their arsenal with so many different looks to be able to stop teams from getting a counter comp against them. But domestically within North America, everyone has gone for Orisa bunker compositions to stop Dallas. No one has tried this wrecking ball that Fate is bringing out, and the value they're getting out of the timing on the pile drives and the pace it gives them to engage, and the tempo that they've injected into their game within the last 3 maps compared to the first 2, it's been night and day.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. I mean, Fate's pile drivers have been the things that it's essentially a foundation that this team is building upon in every team fight. And he's never really messing it up. I mean, it's interesting because you think of Fate, you don't really think of, like, I guess, the top wrecking ball players in the league. But off the back of this performance, definitely start to consider that he's up there. He hasn't really missed a beat on it. In fact, it's been the little micro adaptations as well, Josh, that you pointed out. You know, Jex has been saving his speed boost for a lot of the pile drives that have been coming in. And it is this cat and mouse mind games that's occurring over the course of this series where Fate is having to adjust to the adjustments being made purely for him as well, because so much relies on him, on his shoulders as the centerpiece of this team.
It really does. Another thing that Dallas did excellently in their opening game against Shanghai was Sparkle moving over to Doomfist and punching or uppercutting Fate to stop him getting off these big engagements. It doesn't seem like they've opted into that as a strategy for the entirety of this series. And yet Lip is teasing it a little bit here. Maybe not going to commit to it, but we have seen it once or twice from Lip. It's a good counter against some of the Reaper Torbjorn compositions, but even here, even on Eichenwald, we're not going to see the Shanghai Dragons go towards that in the slightest. They've been getting value out of the Wrecking Ball. Why would you try anything else?
Exactly. It's up to the Dallas Fuel, who are the ones who need to figure up a solution to this playstyle that Shanghai have really brought out here. Already, Fate is just buying time, contesting a little bit. That's a great boop though from Jexa. Yeah, that denies the engagement that he was looking for. He's not going to be able to get that power driver, and Fleder is punished as a result of it. Normally they coordinate that with Fleder's flight and the power driver. It normally just plays hand in hand. And they can set up a kill or two. Get that tray kill on Sparkle though. I don't think that was intended for Dallas. And yeah, they're going to have to play back here a little bit here. It gives an opening for Shanghai.
A little bit of an opening, but again, Fearless is 30% ahead when it comes to Coalescence. So if the Shanghai Dragons try to engage off the back of Sparkle being dead, they're going to be able to buy time with the Cole.
Fielder now going to be using that one. The Coalescence comes through, and they're just ring around the rosies, straight around the pillar, but Lee Jae Gon goes down. The power driver was there to disrupt, but damage already done when you lose Lee Jae Gon. Dallas not willing to overstep themselves. Fate still distracting in the back lines, looking to try and get out alive so we can at least build a bit of the heals up so Lee Jae Gon can maybe get his ult online. But now the engagement is going to come through from Shanghai. Momentum has flipped over. Coalescence from Izayaki. He's getting battered into the corner, and this is prime time for Fearless. He knows that obviously if he gets the batter off onto Izayaki, he can't fade away. And now Doha with that Death Blossom, the kill onto Lip is beautiful. Sublime. Fleder though, still not dealing with him. The sticky bombs are connecting quite nicely. And the Samurai on top with Lee Jae-gon. It's keeping their team alive. Traded out on either side. Both teams going to be committing those ultimates. Void with the self-destruct though, and it's going to be right in the bubble. The bubble fades away, but no casualties now. On the other side of things, Hanbin will get rewarded. Fate falls, and the Coalescence now being utilized. Fielder needs to beam them down, but the damage is still too much. Jexa goes down just from the amount of it that was coming through. Still the ultimate's being committed, but chasing it Lip down. He didn't have the cooldown to try and escape that one. Another self-destruct over the top, dodging it, but Fleder this time gets the recall kill, the remake coming down onto Doha. Sparkle leaving it up though. The fight that is not ending here, Josh.
The Dallas Fuel are committing everything to try and stop this. They've had so many good opportunities to be able to hold on, and yet Dragons keep throwing bodies in. Body after body after body, just into the maw of the Fuel. But this has ticked off all the time that they really have available. They got 2 ticks for sure, but 1 minute and 15 seconds remain, and Shanghai, they need to convert on this push.
Coalescence on Aziaki. Fielder gets it ever so slightly later, but it still gets off. He's going to be healing up the rest of his team now with it, offsetting that advantage that Shanghai may have had. Lip trying to do the good work as well, just again putting in the damage of those Hellfire shotguns, being pressured though. Lee Jae-gon and Fearless traded, so that's a 1-for-1 from either side. Ultimate's now coming up online. Doha waiting for the right opportunity to use that Death Blossom. It feels like he baited out enough of the ultimate. The defense matrix come through to teleport to try and escape that bomb that came over from Void. And Jackson now with the beat, doesn't actually get it off, I believe, or maybe it just faded too quickly. Self-destruct again from Hanbin into the back, and it is absolute pandemonium now. Shanghai desperate to try and claw this one back. The beat layered on top of the Coalescence as it fades away. Surely this is going to give them enough to overcept this.
The self-destruct has come through from Sparkle already that tries to buy enough time for Fielder to turn this with his Coalescence, but surely Shanghai win this in the end. They have all the positioning all over the point, damage coming through from various different angles, and as time ticks down to the overtime, the Dragons will eventually claw this one out of the grasp of the Fuel. But my word, what a defense, Brent. Both teams throwing everything at that, and this is by far and away the highest tempo game that we've seen throughout the entirety of the June Joust. Both of these teams are making decisions at a blisteringly fast pace.
Yeah, blink and you miss it. It's difficult to keep up with this kind of pace. And yeah, 2.5 minutes was what Shanghai were working with, as it was right down to the wire. Another fight here being taken by Dallas. TP is good from Doha, but Lip just turns around and domes and decks him. He's out of the fight. Goodbye. See you later. Lee Jae-gon taking out Jexa though, and Sparkle's still alive. With that beam, Fleder removed. No damage now for Shanghai. Fade has to be used anyway by Fielder just to try and escape and get healed up with that pile driver damage. Yeah, that's going to be bursting right through and taking him out. Hanbin using that self-destruct to try and put, or at least peel away the Shanghai Dragons, but now here they're going to be going straight away in the fight. Coalescence used the TP into the backline as well there from Lip. They're going to be winning this one out.
Keep this momentum flowing. 1.5 minutes, they're going to be able to take high ground control as well. They've led a lot of ults out of the Dallas Fuel, and now Fearless moves over to the Wrecking Ball. Going for that last minute exchange, or perhaps he just feels like he needs more survivability. Look at that pile drive again from Fate. They are getting so much value out of these scenarios. They force abilities out, force out the Coalescence. Lee Jae-gon replies with a soundbar of his own, and I'm waiting for Lip to go for some crazy teleport play. That Doha Death Blossom just gets eaten up by Void.
Yeah, gets 8 up. He's kept alive as well by the Coalescence of Fielder. Now the soundbar from Jexa, and Faye's just trying to roll through them, disrupt this momentum that Dallas are playing with. Fleder has the bomb, going to be sending it into the site. Into the room. Now the recall comes down, just about escaping. Jexa did not fall there. Going forwards though, Fleder now back out of the form. The sticky bomb's trading out. Shanghai winning this one. The Coalescence chasing them. They're searching for even more targets. The card is going to move, but with 30 seconds remaining, Dallas might be looking for an opportunity to recontest, especially with Fearless on the Wrecking Ball. They're kind of teasing the concept of it. They're going to be able to do so now, and the mines are there. Placed down onto the point. Fate comes down with the power drive. Now the Coalescence as well. So much damage. Lee Jae-gon goes down.
In the middle of all of this as well, Fleder has swapped over to Soldier 76 of all things, giving us glimmers of the past, the beginning of this bracket, as Shanghai went out in inglorious fashion.
Oh my goodness.
Fleder on the legs is just trying to run his way back towards this objective and putting damage from afar, but it feels like the Shanghai Dragons are going to get closed out here.
They have to commit the bodies to defensive cooldowns. Lip does not have the Ray form and he's dead instantly. Fearless still on the fight. The mines are doing a very good job. The self-destruct is going to be cleared them away, but they use the cooldowns again to avoid it. Fearless so low, and the legs is working out. It's paid off. Fearless putting in that damage from afar. Nobody can contest them on the bridge, and the bodies are falling. They're dropping for the Dallas Fuel. Shanghai squeaking it through. 1 minute 30 seconds. That is what they're going to be rewarded for that one. I cannot believe how tight this race is between these two teams.
Sweet vindication, screams Fleder as he charges forward into the front lines. Are we going to see a hero swap at any point? Perhaps not. Fleder is such a diveable target here. The tag visor is not enough, Brent. He's going to be pushing into this,
the visor
into a defense matrix. He's just going to get it all gobbled up.
Yep, it gets ate up. All of it, in fact. Now the mines come through. Fearless. They're trying to shove them right at the choke point with the Coalescence on top of it as well. And that is going to stop that push there from Shanghai. They still need to take care of Fate, who's just hanging out back. And now you would think that Fleder is going to make the swap indeed. Yeah, go back to the Echo. They catch Fate. And they knew as well. Yeah, Lip was hiding there, hoping to get a cheeky Death Blossom out without using his teleport.
That's kind of huge, though, because that means instead of having 40 seconds to deal with and a player in a really cool spot to get value out of a Death Blossom, you now only have 30 seconds as Lip exits the spawn. And Dallas, they love to play aggressive in these scenarios. Is the Shanghai Dragons going to be ready for it?
Coalescence is ready for Izayaki to offset the aggression. They're going to use it early, actually. Not going to let Dallas engage. Self-destruct as well is good. Fearless chewed up there at the choke point, beaming down the opposition. Dallas are just going to topple over here. Body block at the door. Nice little bit of tech there from Fate. And it is going to be the overtime push now coming through from the Shanghai Dragons. Ultimates are online for Dallas.
Yeah, I'm watching Lip here. He's hiding around the side, looking for that incredible Death Blossom engage. He's going to wait out Hanbin. Hanbin's gone for the self-destruct. Does he choose this moment? Not quite. Not just yet.
Comes through, though! Now he's going to be forcing out that sound barrier. Fell very, very low. Has to use the Ray form to back away. The mines have kind of split up the Shanghai Dragons. They actually can't put pressure onto the point Doha with the Death Blossom in the air, but Fleder is going to be taking him out anyway. Coalescence. Last-ditch attempt here by Fielder as the spawners are just trying to come back in, but Lip is so strong right now. The damage is all there for them. Fleder assuming the form of the Diva once more, diving straight into the back line. The heals have to come through as Fielder's trying to keep them alive, but that just makes him, again, weak, taken out by Lee J. Gone. The Dallas Fuel cannot withstand this kind of assault that's coming out. The Shanghai Dragons pushing forwards. Another set of mines from Fearless. That's not enough, though, to stop them. That's going to be the overtime push completed. The Shanghai Dragons going to get 3 checkpoints on the board.
What pace from the Dragons when you think about how close they were to being held right before checkpoint B. That is a masterful push. They had a minute and a half to be able to go through the entirety of checkpoint C there. And with all of that momentum, they managed it. With 30 seconds on the clock coming out of spawn, they still are able to capture that objective and take it all the way through. That is monumental. And Bren, Fearless, for the first time, the Dallas Fuel are being pushed outside of their comfort zone. You could say that maybe Sparkle picking up the Doom or the Genji was them having to adapt to the meta. All right, but Sparkle is not uncomfortable in the slightest playing those heroes. As we've seen the course of this series progress, Fearless has picked up the Wrecking Ball for the first times in the June Joust, and they don't look as comfortable with it. He's playing it for more survivability, but he is not finding the same value. They don't have the same coordination based off his timings of the pile drives that Fate does with the rest of the Dragons. The Dallas Fuel are now having to adapt, and this is really interesting. We're getting to crunch time in the series, and Dallas is starting to look uncomfortable. What does that mean for the way that this is going to go? Who does the momentum favor here? It's anyone's game.
And it feels like the scoreline at the top, the series scoreline, should almost be flipped in a sense with the way that this has felt. The past few team fights, the way Shanghai have been the ones really dictating the pace of how it's been going. Fearless though back on the Winston. Yeah, they have. Now on the attacking side, Dallas are going to try and open up a couple of opportunities now. You can see the leap comes through. Boop's back though. That's Fate waiting to use the grapple just to ensure that Fearless can't really get right into the back line. Falling very, very low. Another great boop there. Yeah, Jexa as well going to be punishing him, but this is just, okay, the war of attrition eventually paying off now for the Dallas Fuel. Walking through them, and yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, it felt like they just kind of toppled over there.
Well, there was no point at which Shanghai were able to get a hard engage. Fate didn't go for a pile drive, and they didn't try and pick somebody off early. The reason for that being that Fearless was just plowing ahead, moving, using his abilities, and taking all of the damage that was coming through. He was normally the whole of Dallas path as a team. This time Fearless was leading the charge, going in much deeper, and so Fate had the choice of either stopping Fearless or stopping the rest of his team. And they just never found that opportunity to go for the hardcore engage.
Fielder gonna get that beam down onto Fleder. The damage is done here. Already missing Fleder. It's gonna be hard for them to take this fight deeper. Shanghai obviously want to be punishing this. If they can get any sort of trade kills, could be immensely valuable for them. Doha with the Ray form has to back off around the corner. Lip ends up using that Death Blossom, but there's only Jexa really in range of it, and I don't think he even died to it. D-Mech will come through though, as Hanbin will use that self-destruct just to get back into the mech quickly. You see the duplicates also coming through, and Shanghai looking like they're holding on here. With Izyaki's Coalescence, they can have enough healing to try and push them away from this choke point.
Dallas used a lot of ultimates to try and get through there as well. Double tank ultimate, double DPS ultimate. They still have a really large time back, so you don't have to be worried too early on here. But it's going to take them a while to generate that kind of ult bank again. Dallas are looking for an overstep from the Dragons, a bad engagement, Fate going too deep, a boot from Jexa that sets up a kill. These are all win conditions.
Now Jexa using that beat, trying to apply it to everybody on his team here. Another self-destruct comes up over the top. That's from Void this time. Remek's not going to be getting too much value, but at least he's back in the Diva form. And Fleder getting the duplicate off, eventually taken out of the Diva form. That's an important takeaway here. See the mines come through from Fate as well. Once again, Lip wants to lead it in with the Death Blossom. Nobody can really push into his face and punish him for using that ultimate. Get the mines there to try and defend against any sort of pressure being put out. Coalescence again comes through from Izzyaki. And Dallas, the smart, are going to disengage from this one and come back in with the better ults.
Ever since Numbani, the Dragons have been so proactive on defense. Lijigon is incredibly weak. Please don't pump the sound barrier now. It's Fearless again with the Primal Rage. And Lijigon, he just can't pump that ultimate. It's happened too many times to him before. Just flashbacks of all the ults that he's dropped in the past. And the Dragons, they are going to lose this forward hold. Surely, the Dallas Fuel have so many advantages now.
Fearless went down, but he's going to be respawning pretty quickly. And nobody dealt with Doha, so the damage is still there. Eventually breaking through. Lee Jae-gon coming back off the respawns just to buy a couple of more
off the
seconds.
back of Fearless.
Yep.
And now the Dragons, they're going to be set up for another engagement. Dallas just taking a moment, taking a breather, getting set up for the next fight. The Dragons have a pile drive and bomb that they could go for in the middle of this, but it's only really effective after Dallas have used all of their abilities.
Sound barrier from Dragons. Either way to win out this fight here. The duplicate is used by Spark or Lip falling so low. Has to use that Ray form. That bomb over the top is going to, again, push him deeper into the underground pass here of Eichenwald. See the Fade being used by Fielder just to escape a lot of that damage coming their way, but Fearless falls once more. This punish coming through time and time again on the main tank. It's opening things up now, but Dallas Fuel struggling to hold on here. Lip with the Death Blossom gets way better value there than Doha. The Coalescence on top, well, that's just going to be the cherry on top to try and win out this team fight. 2 minutes now is what Dallas are working with here. They are just getting stalled and choked up so often.
They certainly are. The more this series goes on as well, the more escort maps, the more hybrid maps end up coming into it. And these are the maps where Dallas Fuel look a little uncomfortable. They got to choose here to go towards Eichenwald instead of Hollywood, but it's still not looking great for them. These maps, they favor the way that Shanghai want to play with these big pile drives. They've isolated Sparkle again, so often going to be that candidate to isolate in the middle of the fight. But he avoids it, and the rest of Dallas are forging ahead.
Yep, Coalescence fades eventually. Fielder's just trying to keep his team alive, but damage. Look at that Fate again, rolling through them, disrupting Hanbin. Remeching from the high ground here. Now the micro missile's just going to be boosting straight into Lip. Forces out that Ray form now to Sound Barrier to keep them all alive. Lee Jae-gon wants to try and help out his team, but no one's really dealing with him. And again, Fate grappling through them. 2 kills for him, and now they're right in this tight enclosure, exactly where Shanghai want them. They're taking the fight to their spawn door.
It's crazy how much extra tempo the Dragons have added into their game. compared to the first 2 maps. And Fearless is moving to the Hog. This is the sign of a team that has had to make drastic changes here. We have not seen this a single time in the course of the June Joust. This is a Hog D.Va and then Sparkle duplicating the D.Va in a desperate effort to come up with a counter-strat that works against the Dragons. The Fuel are well and truly rattled.
Yeah, the pace is there, forced to adapt in the end. The Mines right at the choke again. Doha though, look at that, that's a great Death Blossom. Fate gets taken out, but they still need to win out this fight. Void demeched. Alive. Lip actually winning out the fight against Fielder, of course he was. He had the backup there of Fleder, again in the D.Va form. But this fight looks like it is going to be going their way. The Breathe around the corner, Fearless will be surviving. Still has the hook available. Going to be reaching to the sky, but not going to be coming up clutch just yet. Still, Shanghai holding on, buying time, staving off seconds. 10 seconds remaining. They're winning this team fight out. Ultimate's being committed. Izayaki though cancelled out of the Coalescence.
Phenomenal book though there to make sure that Fearless couldn't finish the kill. And the Dragons, they've still got an opportunity. Fleder once more locking the legs, seeing if he can close out Eichenwald in a way that he was able to finish Checkpoint B on attack.
Dallas truly pushed to the brink here. The overtime is going. They need to win out this team fight. They need to win it now. The Coalescence comes through, but Fleder on the legs. The Helix Rockets. Doha has fallen. Self-destruct over around the top. Izayaki will go down. No more heals for them, but no one is dealing with Fleder. He's on this bridge, and he's raining down lead and hellfire from above. Still, Lee Jae going alive, very, very low, eventually beaten down. Now the beat on top catches onto 4. Do they have anything to dispel Fleder from this high ground angle? He has to reach and drop down to the point because he knows his team is in a hairy situation. Has the visor, but does not opt to use it. The Dragons are going to be falling here, but the job is done. The war is almost won. Getting this to overtime is absurd.
It really is. The Dragons, though, are only going to have one more attempt to be able to defend Checkpoint B, one more attempt to stop the Dallas Fuel in their tracks. Otherwise, a whole extra amount of time is allotted to the Dallas Fuel as they continue throughout Eichenwald. And Fleder has not changed his hero. He's again on the Soldier 76, pushing into a Doomfist, doing tickle damage, essentially, to Dallas.
Sparky using all of his cooldowns to try and get a kill there. The seismic slam over the top. Izayaki, he's gone 90% and counting, but it might not even matter. The attack visor gets 2. Sparkle and Hanbin are removed from the fight. The Mines are still doing the job. And Doha from the side. You've got to be joking. The Death Blossom does all the work, all the business, and Dallas Fuel are rewarded. They're going to get one more opportunity here with 1:30 on the clock to try and push this and match the time.
They're throwing everything they can into these team fights. They're playing with such passion, such speed and momentum. Now Doha moves his way over onto the Echo, Fearless, back onto the Winston, and we're into stable territory once again for the Dallas Fuel. Take a deep breath, reset, and go in once more.
Coalescence comes through, but Lip and the Power Driver. Wonderful coordination. The Shanghai Dragons not relenting, not letting up. A little bit of a bonus stagger kill at the end there. 50 seconds remaining. The stagger kill to Hanbin here. The remake around the corner. Izayaki goes down. They have to kill him now. They have to punish him, but that may have just opened things up. Can the Dallas Fuel recontest this quickly?
I think they definitely can. A heal advantage like that with the Moira being down at least gives Dallas the opening to contest the objective. They can't force a fight because Izayaki's back in the team fight so quickly, but at least they can take this space and maybe set Sparkle up for a kill.
They're going with the beat. Shanghai look like they're raring to go, priming perhaps for an engage quickly
Sparkle,
around the corner.
he's so weak.
Sparkle, yep, so weak, taken out. Really before he could even blink. Now the Sandbar on top here, 16 seconds remaining. Dallas just choosing to kite backwards. They can't lose any players, but who can touch the objective?
Doesn't look like anybody really can, but surely somebody will be able to get there. The boot back. Is anyone going to be able to touch?
2 seconds remaining, just about contesting. Meteor Strike as well comes through. Lip will fall, but the Power Driver again is good. Izayaki now with his Coalescence. Void is still alive because of it. And now the remake over the top. Fielder goes down. Shanghai, surely they're not doing it right here, right now. Absolutely absurd. The Coalescence still keeping them in it though. Dallas want to be taking this fight all the way. And that's Doha with the duplicate over now. That's where his Coalescence has come from. Absolutely ridiculous in the overtime push here. Fate going to try and stall this one out, but it looks like Dallas are going to get another opportunity to keep this one going.
It's just plot armor at this point, Brent. The Dallas Fuel will not be stopped by anything. They are determined to make this a 4-2 repeat of the May Melee Finals if it takes every ounce of blood, sweat and tears.
Primal Rage from Fearless, right at the spawn doors. I've seen this story, it's one as old as time. You can see now the Primal Rage coming off, trying to batter them away, but the mines are already down. Jexa is going to be falling. They're missing the Lucio into this fight. Self-destruct on top of the lamp, but it means nothing. Sparkle with the punch though. That's going to be lipped down. And it's going to force out this Meteor Strike now straight onto the point. A lot of damage coming through the punch. Not enough to connect. Not against the wall at least, but he gets the kill regardless. But now the spawners are coming through. Coalescence from Fearless Sparkle. Dodging, juking the damage, crouching in the midst of it. But the bomb comes through from Void, and it is good. Uppercut to try and at least lock up Fade away from this fight, but I think the Dragons with the superior spawns coming in, it's just working out in their favor every inch of the way. Sparkle needs to work magic, but as his team is falling around him, it's not going to be enough. And the Dragons, the Shanghai Dragons, are going to be taking us to the distance.
7 maps in this series. Could it go any other way? The Shanghai Dragons, though, deserve so much credit for being able to rebound. These past 4 maps have looked like a different team, and it is simply scary how fast the Dragons are at being able to learn and pick up a brand new meta for them. They were not playing this during the regular season. They were not playing this even at the beginning of the June Joust. They have had to learn this over the course of a matter of days. A matter of hours in the server is the sum total of their match experience playing these compositions. And you can actively see them getting better and better as the series progresses. They're like a bunch of velociraptors. They're so fast, so quick to pick up on any new trick.
Yep, Velociraptors, exactly how I would compare them, Josh. And we're heading to that 7th and final map. It's all going to be decided right there on the other side of this break. We're going to see who is going to be the winner of the June Joust Finals. Oh man, what a treat. What an absolute treat. We'll see you soon enough, ladies and gentlemen. Do not go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile.
It's all come down to this, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it has gone the distance. We've been absolutely blessed with a barn burner of a series here, Josh. I mean, you could not have hoped for anything better. The Shanghai Dragons coming back from the brink. They were looking done in this series earlier on. You go back to those first 2 maps, you show somebody just those first 2 maps only, and they'd be like, oh, okay, Shanghai are just done. They lost, right? They lost, right? 3-3. We're here at the finish line. It is absolutely absurd.
It really is. The grit and determination from this team is just absolutely unbelievable. Over on the Dallas Fuel side, though, the momentum has definitely shifted away from those guys. And one of the key strategic swap-ups is that in these pile drive initiations, Shanghai Dragons are trying to take Sparkle out of the fight early when he's playing that Echo. And just to touch on Sparkle a little bit more as well, Jonathan tweeted this on the desk earlier on when he was saying that if Sparkle is able to win this match, he'll have won 3 out of 4 of the stages that he's played in since turning 18 and joining the league. That is an unbelievable superstar level, championship caliber resume that he has right there. And if you take a look at how he's been performing on the Echo coming into this series, and or rather during the course of this series, even though he's been a big focus for the Shanghai Dragons to take out early, and yes, he does have slightly more deaths per 10 minutes because of that focus, he's still getting a huge amount of damage done in the fights, a massive amount of focusing beam kills. And remember, this isn't just any old nobody that he's going up against. This is Fleta, a reigning MVP, the man with the Echo skin in the game, and Sparkle is going toe-to-toe with him, whilst also having all of this pressure of being the focus target in the middle. Now, the other reason why I wanted to focus on Sparkle here as we head into our final map of the series is that we're going into Junkertown, Brent. We have a situation now where the Dallas Fuel, they have the opportunity to pick the map and they don't want to go towards Dorado. They have opted deliberately here into going for the Junkertown pick. Normally a map that you wouldn't want them to really be playing, but recently, despite everything, despite how long range this map is, despite all the teams running bunker comps or hit scan against them, Sparkle's Doomfist has been insanely good on this map. And I'm wondering whether that could be the adaptation that they need to get their heads back in the game and have this young superstar carry them to another tournament victory.
Certainly could be, yeah. All these little micro-adaptations adding up, culminating down to this Junkertown. It's the map that we're ending it all on. I mean, absolutely absurd. I cannot believe it. I mean, you think back as well this time last year to May Melee in 2020 as well. Fearless was doing something quite similar. I mean, the reverse sweep in the May Melee when he was playing for the Shanghai Dragons, now playing against his former team, put in this situation here. But yeah, this is really, really quite special, honestly. An all-time match that we're all witnessing here.
It certainly is. And really, I want to reiterate again, it didn't feel like it for the first 2 maps. If Shanghai had turned up at all for the first 2 maps, if they had been in the game in the slightest, this series could have been them leading from the beginning. Because throughout the latter half of this match, they have by far and away been the better team. The Dallas Fuel have been rocked. They look at this point to be a little mentally out of it. They need to take this moment to reset and remind themselves of what they're playing for. They are our May Melee defending champions.
Yeah. I mean, I've been going on and on and on about this championship mentality, this champion mentality. Doesn't mean squat when you're in map 7. When you're in map 7, when it's the deciding map, that goes out the window. You are rarely put in this kind of situation with this kind of pressure on your shoulders. But Dallas immediately coming out here on the defense, and this time Fearless is going to be on the wrecking ball once again. Shanghai been trying to bait them in a little bit here, maybe take a chunk out of them. Dallas choosing to just opt and take the fight around maybe this choke point here, really far back.
Fearless not looking to go for the Winston. It's such a wide open map that it is difficult to be able to get value out of that pick. It is point A at least is much more suited to the wrecking ball. As we go towards point B, that's where the Winston and the Doomfist can be spectacular. Good boot there from Jexa to stop Fate from getting value with that pile drive.
Yeah. On the downside though, Fearless gets burnt in the midst of it. The healing just couldn't quite get onto him. Again, running the Moira, very difficult to try and get that going. And Dallas, I mean, they're very, very weak in the process though, but Sparkle is going to be getting the catch there onto Fleta round by the side. Dallas still just holding on to this one. Hanbin still alive somehow, 1 HP.
Ow.
Yeah, eventually going to get taken out and demexed, but Fielder is coming back in, obviously, with this Coalescence now. Coalescence comes through from Izayaki, to beat by Jexa just to keep them holding on. Fielder coming back into the fight is going to have that Coalescence now to contest this final point. The fight going to distance with... Yeah, pushing him around the corner.
Getting into
off on the high ground. Now he has a Death Blossom boot around the way. That Death Blossom is going to be getting all the work done. Jexa falling. And now chunking down Fearless as well, unable to really contest this one. The Fade pushed through, but the Mines are doing all the work.
And Shanghai dominated checkpoint A there. 5 minutes in the time bank. They really didn't get contested in the slightest. Fearless is finding it so difficult to get the same value that Fate is on the Wrecking Ball. The entire story of Fate picking up this Wrecking Ball, to me, was because he wasn't able to get the same value that Fearless was on Winston. And now the tides have turned. As with the momentum of this series, so goes the fate of the main tanks. And Fearless here is looking a little shaken.
4 Divas on the field. The bombs are sent trading. You can see Dallas just trying to buy a bit of space with it. That's a nice boop though. Sparkle's going to get caught into it and demeched. Has the mech almost immediately. And now Void sending in another self-destruct actually, just to try and get back into the mech there. And they're going to put the pressure now onto Fleder, so he's taken out of the fight. The sticky bombs off into the corner. Sparkle just trying to back off the rest of his team here. Shanghai holding on here, withstanding a lot of that damage that's coming their way. And Izayaki building up that Coalescence. Still a slight advantage coming out for Fielder here. Dallas might look to go aggressively with that one. The pile driver especially missing, and now you see it traded out. Izayaki so low, killed in the middle of the Coalescence. That could be a deal breaker.
That's a huge one. Lip caught before he can use that Death Blossom too, and the Dallas Fuel are going to be able to maintain control of this corner, of this high ground. This stairs control is crucial to being able to tick time off the clock and just defend checkpoint B in general. It is really difficult, no matter what composition you're playing right now, to get around this corner. You need a huge play, and to me that means that you're looking for Lip, to go for some kind of crazy teleport, to not be checked by the Dallas Fuel, and to come in off a pile drive. Another great boot from Jexa. He is doing so much work for them.
Yeah, really denying a lot of that positioning. Those mines would have been really tricky to remove otherwise. Now the ultimates come through. Lip with this Death Blossom. It's instantly met now with the sound barrier. Sparkle also coming up onto the Diva, and that's a self-destruct built up. Lip forced to use the Ray Form to dodge it out of the way. Mines on the high ground means that Shanghai are forced to take this fight down in the lower section here of Junkertown in the streets. Another power driver comes through, but this time Sparkle with that remake. That's going to be Lip taking out the beam as well. Oh my goodness, it's immense on top of the Coalescence. Still in control of this corner section. A brutal area to push through on the attacking side of Junkertown.
Both teams trade out support ultimates. Sparkle there utilizing his ultimate as well. So Fleder now with a bit of an opportunity to make the difference here. Fate's been trying to get value out of his minefield and deny positioning away from Dallas, but Jexa has been all over him. There's this star Lucio player that a lot of people are not giving proper credit. Again, with the boop. Fate backing away, has to put down the mines in a really uncomfortable scenario, and Fleder, they have double ball on the field right now.
They split them up, and Lip is so low. The power driver connects that self-destruct onto the high ground. Do force Hanbin down, at least so they can get that pick, and they're pushing him away with the self-destruct again. Boots from Lee J gone. Jexa falling very low, just could not escape out of it. Power driver though catching onto them. Sparkle trying to win out the 1v1 will not happen, as Fate will just take him out in the process now. 1 minute, 45 seconds. Card is going to start moving here. Finally, Shanghai breaking through that hold that Dallas had over them.
And now that Shanghai have started to make their way forwards, this now becomes so much more difficult for Dallas to get back into this. There are ultimates that they can use, but with the cart this far pushed up, it's unlikely they're going to be able to stop the momentum for very long. Nevertheless, it's a short-term battle. The difference of 2 pile drives there, as Fearless very little value out of his, but Fleder still falls right before Lee Jigon was able to get that sound barrier off, and Lip goes the way of the Dodo as well.
Yeah, that's going to be the Death Blossom getting absolutely nothing. Has to be a disengage here from Shanghai. Send in the self-destruct, why not? Going to be taken out of that form anyway, momentarily here. And Dallas, they stave them off for now. A minute remaining now for Shanghai to try and make this push attempt happen. After all the time they built up through checkpoint A, now going down to the wire again.
Fearless is harassing Fate off on the side. This is a great way for Fearless to try and play. He isn't the better ball of the two, but if he can just take Fate out of the fight, that will try and counter a lot of the value that the Dragons have been getting with their composition. And now Fate just forced to play the objective as Fearless once again harangues him.
Yeah, and here's the Coalescence come through. Jexa going to be using that sound barrier in response to it now, and again the echo duel that was occurring. Fleder actually ends up winning this one, but the Death Blossom might be the difference maker, still punished in the midst of it. Void will take him out. South-Destruct over the top as well. Void putting everybody away from him right now. No one's really paying attention to Jexa, but the fight that's occurring in close quarters is coming out on top here for the Shanghai Dragons. Dallas just don't have the damage to try and push them away. The Mines really not going to be doing too much here as well, as they've already got positioning onto the card, so it will be the push through. Checkpoint B is theirs, a minute 30 again to work with.
It's a good defense by Dallas overall. You expect in this meta most people to push at least halfway through checkpoint C. So the fact that Dallas have managed to limit Dragons to only a minute and a half on the clock here, that is positive looks for them. The question is whether or not they're going to be able to stop them here. Fielder with another Coalescence does give them an advantage in this fight. Lip already on an off angle, looking to try and just stop Sparkle from following up on anything that Fielder is doing.
Yeah, Lip is desperately searching now for a bit of a value on the off angle flank here. Fielder, that Coalescence, they chased it deep. The Fade has to be used to try and dodge that power driver, but they're also weak here. The soundbar is going to be good now. Lee Jae-gon leading his team with it. A lot of health for them, and it gives them, again, a great advantage. Doha could not escape. Sparkle getting that mega health pack. Lip using that Ray form aggressively to try and chase down Sparkle, but a disengage now from Dallas.
The teleport from Lip.
Yep, coming
He's
through.
gone deep into enemy territory.
Lip goes down. He's going to be finished here. The Coalescence might be to try and save him there, but it's faded anyway. Fielder still holding on to his, and now going to be laying down two support ults. Dallas Fuel trying to stop them. 20 seconds remaining. They realize that they could end this team fight right here. The Fade, ready and available. It does force them back. It was actually Sparkle building up that Coalescence, not Fielder, so they've still got it now for this upcoming fight.
Yeah, massive advantage here for the Dallas Fuel. Just got to stop Fate from touching the objective. But what a crazy play that Lip went on previously. He's got the opportunity to go for another, and why not? Fleder falls, though. It really does all come down to Lip. If they're going to be able to do anything, it's got to come off the back of this Death Blossom. It finds nothing, and Fate is the only one desperately attempting to keep this objective alive.
The power driver's good off onto the side here, but Dallas and the kill feed is being lit up right now. Void of the South-Destruct over the top. Sparkle goes down, but the Mines are still on the point, causing problems here. Handbin cannot be removed from this side angle, and they took the mega health back on top of it. Fleder moving over to the legs, but it's not enough. Inconsequential in the end. 2 points, 69 meters and 37, or 69.37, I should say, is what the Dragons were able to get in the end of it. The sides are going to be swapped around here. I mean, that is pretty standard, as you said here, Josh, for Junkertown. So who knows who's going to be taking away this series?
It's anyone's game at this point, but the line has been drawn in the sand. This is the final map. There's no draws happening here on Junkertown. And the Shanghai Dragons have said 69.37. That is our best attempt at being able to secure these 3 league points and the $100,000 that goes along with being the June Joust champions. That's their goal. The Dallas Fuel know what they have to be. Now it's just a matter of whether or not they're up to the task. This is anybody's game at this point, Brent. Both teams are taxed to their absolute limit. Both making adaptations in this series too, as Fearless has moved over to the ball. Sparkle taking on a much larger role within the team. Lip goes for a crazy play towards the end that I don't think he would usually do, but the pressure just getting to him, going for a play without the Wraith form active, feeding his life away in a crucial moment for Shanghai. It's chaos. It's the 7th map. These kind of things happen. The pressure gets to people.
And again, you can see Dallas opting into this wrecking ball, and these are the adaptations that are having to be made. We've made it, we've been speaking about it over and over and over again as the series has progressed now, but Fearless making these adaptations, and now the Dragons on the defense. They know exactly where they have to stop this cart right before that objective that they managed to get earlier. Sparkle in the air, pumping in the damage of the tri-shots. This time going to be focusing his attention onto Fleder. He got some good shots off there. That's going to be giving him a bit of a window of opportunity now. He gets free reign off into the side, and Fate is so low in this. Taking the fight indoors. Izayaki desperately trying to build up this ultimate. The beam comes through, but it has to be cancelled. Can't find the kill. Instead, it's turned around. Fleder finds that opportunity, and he's going to grasp it. Now the Coalescence comes through as they weren't able to take him out. Death Blossom to try and stop them from pressing into them now, but Lee Jae-gon with this sound barrier as well. Double support ultimates to try and win out this team fight, and a minute almost burned off here. Shanghai not giving up just yet, but disengaging away as Void needs to get back into the mech.
They need to continue fighting over the objective though. You can't back up. just because you've lost your double support ult advantage. You have to continue fighting and lose this team fight with grace, with honor, so that you can come back and take another, and so that you force the ultimates out of the Dallas Fuel. This is all still good for Shanghai Dragons. They're looking to just go for a reset. They force double support ultimates out of Dallas. And another interesting trend here as Sparkle gets a double kill to clean things up. Another interesting trend is that as Fearless has gone over to Wrecking Ball, Fielder has lost that advantage in terms of Coalescence Charge. It was Izzyaki who got up to his first, and that has made a big difference for the series. It's stopped Dallas being able to win these early neutral engagements and start a snowball going. Nevertheless, still 2.5 minutes remain.
That's a nice little set play. Oh my goodness, the power driver into the self-destruct. That is elite. Lee Jae-gon taken out of the fight as a result of it, but the mines to try and stall it out again. Flededo going to be demeked there as he used the duplicate in form, but he's going to be remeching momentarily. That's just the power of Echo, witnessing it firsthand over the course of this entire tournament. Izzyaki using his coalescence, but it looks like nobody is really within range. Still, it ends at the end of it, just healing his team up. Now the mines come through again, a bit of a repeat. The push and pull coming through. So much damage to the adaptive shields from Fearless, just keeping him alive. And Fearless will get that kill onto Fledder with the mines in the end. Coalescence also being utilized. That beatdown, Fade will come through. And Izzyaki using it just to try and stay alive and buy a bit more time for their team. But it is a team fight win, nevertheless, for the Dallas Fuel.
Even though Fearless is having to make this adaptation and move over to the ball, a hero that he really doesn't play very often, isn't known for, it's amazing to me that they still on the fly are coming up with stuff like that. The power drive into the self-destruct. Obviously quite a normal set play, but just the coordination to be able to go for it is phenomenal. And now it feels like Fearless is really heating up on this role.
You see Death Blossom coming through. Sparkle moves over to the Diva, building up that bomb. Could be big here in this final point to try and clear them away so they can capitalize off of it. Doha takes the kill, and there's the bomb, clearing the point. Fate just trying to contest, just trying to hide away from it, but that is going to be 3.5 minutes now. A good team fight win here for Dallas, and they're going to be regaining control of this staircase.
And yeah, that's the most important part. The Dallas Fuel have taken this area, which Dragons would love to hold. Like I said, it's the most important part of them, arguably the entire map, to drain the time back from the attackers. And Shanghai don't have control of it. They're going to have to win a team fight just to get access to it.
Aggressive fade from Izzyaki just so we can get in position to use that coalescence. Into the power driver, into the mines. Sparkle is deleted, sent packing. And Shanghai, with brute force, just going to be finding a way up onto the high ground here. Dallas obviously backing off, but they've cornered Fate, and they've taken him out.
What a lovely boot by Jexa. He's been so good with these all series long. The entirety of the June Joust, he's been able to find angles with those and isolate targets. Lip as well being spotted by Hanbin, so vigilant to check all of these areas with Lip and Death Blossom online.
Double self-destruct, it forced them all into the corner, and the boop off onto the side. Lee Jae-gon setting up that kill onto Jexa. Death Blossom from Lip as well. Beautiful work. Again, piercing through the opposition of the Dallas Fuel on the attacking side now. That hefty time bank whittled down to just 2 minutes, and Shanghai still in control.
Shanghai have done a phenomenal job, not just at getting back in this series, but at getting back into this defense as well. With Dallas controlling that staircase area, it looked like the snowball was going to continue, but the Dragons getting back in with the power of fate, and now Lee Jae-gon and Izzyaki having those ultimates online, it's looking devastating for Dallas. Sparkle's Doomfist is not on the field. They don't have the Magic Maker online. It's all on Fearless to be able to make space.
Again, you see them trying to take away this high ground control. Self-destruct's coming over the top, the mines as well to push them away, but the damage is done. The Shanghai Dragons, off the back of that coalescence, kept them all healthy. All that damage as well, piercing through them. Once again, in control of this high ground. Sparkle does have the duplicate. Lee Jae-gon, though, the sound barrier to try and offset that.
It's insane. The momentum in this map has already flipped on its head. The Shanghai Dragons are looking great here at being able to pull off a ridiculously long hold. They have a coalescence with which to fight the Dallas Fuel, and Sparkle moving over to the Diva, but Shanghai, they're fighting for every inch.
Absolutely. Sparkle now just trying to build up that self-destruct, sends it straight up into the sky. Void so close to being demeked, just whittling away his health, but he boosts.
How is he alive?
99%! He built up the bomb in time, he's going to be able to remake. Self-destruct over the top, and now he's healthy again. What a ridiculous play. No punish in sight for him. And the Dallas Fuel are toppling over again. The Ray form coming through into the back here. Doha is still available, but beaten down. in the lower sections of Junkertown. They're chasing after these kills. 30 seconds left. This could be it.
The Dallas Fuel, everybody's favorites for the June Joust coming in. They were up 3-1 in this match as well. They are losing control of this series. They are losing control of Junkertown. This could be the final fight. And what are they coming in with? Barely an ultimate to their names, and Izzyaki, he has that Coalescence that could just end things immediately. Fate gets dangerously low, but Bren, this could be it.
Coalescence comes through, Fearless falls. The ultimates are online. Fate's going to be traded as well. Could still be winnable now. Just trying to find a way, any sort of light in the darkness here for the Dallas Fuel. And that Death Blossom could be the answer, but Lip answers back with one of his own. Duplicate comes through, gives him a bit of invulnerability, but immediately Sparkle is taken out of it. The Coalescence from Fielder has to be good here, providing his team the heals they need to try and win out this team fight in the overtime. It seems like slowly they are able to edge it out. You never know, Lee Jae-gon going down there, not committing the beat. It seems they are going to be giving up this fight, but the damage is most certainly done. They force it to overtime, and the Shanghai Dragons a single team fight away in the streets phase from taking away the crown. They're going to be denying potentially the repeat here for the Dallas Fuel.
For Dallas, it's all about getting set up for this next engagement. They need to be in position. Maybe another pile drive and a bomb. They have Jex's ultimate to be able to rely on for a little bit of sustain. Shanghai only get one more team fight in checkpoint B. If they could find another kill on Fate, that would also be enormous, or maybe even Fleder before he gets duplicate.
The mines going to be clearing the point a little bit there. The overtime is still ticking. They have to commit bodies to it, but the power drive is big. Self-destruct coming over the top. It's going to be forcing them away, and now the fight is taking place within the buildings. A lot of damage taking place there. Fearless having to use the adaptive shields to stay alive. Coalescence on top. Power drive is big. Death Blossom's committed. Lip so low. He's built up the Death Blossom. Now he's committing it so low, but his team healing him up in the middle of it, keeping him alive. Another big bomb over the top, pushing them away. Dallas on the brink of destruction here, but the bomb from Sparkle is good. Fate will fall. Another pile driver. It is chaos. It is pandemonium, but they are persevering somehow. Lip trying to put an end to it. 3 kills for Lip. Are you kidding me? Forcing the fade away as well. Lee Jae-gon coming back in now with the sound barrier. Just needs to clear off this point. The mines from Fearless. It's desperation now for Dallas to try and do it. But the Shanghai Dragons are holding strong now. Only a couple of players left standing, and it's not enough. The Shanghai Dragons have done it. An absurd series of events. They've come back, and look at the sheer joy on their faces. They can hardly believe what they've achieved. Denying the second tournament win here for Dallas, stealing away the crown. They are going to be your June Joust champions.
Finalists of the May Melee, champions of the June Joust, and Fate claims his title. He's in tears, getting support from the rest of his team there. We said earlier on in this series that it felt like Fate was always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Runner-up in terms of the May Melee last year, runner-up in terms of the May Melee this year as well. Well, now he has a title under his belt. 2021, potentially the year of the Dragons. They respond, and my God, what a showing from both teams. The Dallas Fuel, they looked like they were in it up until the last couple of maps when the momentum just slipped out of their hands. And it's devastation from them in the moment, but it's still an incredible legacy that they've been able to carve out for themselves in this beginning portion of 2021. But this moment is all about Shanghai. They finish it, Bren, with Fate on the legs. With Fleder on legs, picking that Soldier 76, and Lee Jae-gon drops a clutch beat to end. Something that he was having so much struggle with in the beginning of this series, dropping 3 of his beats. That was not a problem in those final few maps, not a problem in those final few moments. What a team, what a rivalry, and what a match.
Yeah, you could safely say we have a rivalry between these two teams. Shanghai and Dallas in the finals. That is now firmly an iconic duo. And my word. I mean, it's just such a treat to have as well. When the series, I mean, it was just looking done. It was looking dusted. And I thought all of the narratives, the storylines that we had coming into this was that the APAC region just was not looking as strong as NA. They just were slow to grasp the meta at times. And that may still be the case, but what you can't deny is the Dragons came back in. They adapted over the course of the grand finals. They found their win conditions. They forced Dallas Fuel to play to their compositions. Absolute insanity. The Dragons, I mean, they firmly deserve this. They are going to be the winners here of your June Joust, securing that $100,000 and those 3 tournament points. Unbelievable.
They also stop a potential runaway leader in the league standings.
Yep.
Dallas Fuel, if they had been able to get those extra 3 league points, I mean, they still managed to get 2 of them, but that would have put them into a potentially uncatchable lead. And now Shanghai are right back in the race, along with a bunch of other teams too. But Brent, I just want to hammer home one more time. Shanghai were not playing these compositions in the regular season portion of the June Joust.
Yeah.
They weren't playing these compositions to open either. They were playing double hit scan. They were playing Reaper Torb with the Wrecking Ball. They have had to adapt over the course of this tournament to figure out the right counter. Nobody else could. No one else came close to stopping the Dallas Fuel. We thought it might be the Gladiators. They breezed over them. We thought it might be the Atlanta Reign. They breezed over them as well. And instead, it took the Shanghai Dragons in a rematch. One match. After throwing a bunch of wild comps at the wall, they figured out what worked, distilled it down to its essence, and found the counter. They even, like you said, forced Fearless to try and play to their tune instead. What a performance from this team. They learn so fast.
The lower bracket run as well for this team. Let's take a look at our player of the match. Presented by Xfinity, and it's going to be going to one individual who was really just performing above and beyond. It was Fleder, I think, as well. This guy, obviously Mr. Consistent when it comes to the Echo play as well. I'm not going to say he had an easy time of it. I think Sparkle definitely pushed him to his limits, but there's a reason this guy was the MVP of last year. There's a reason he has the Echo skin in the game.
The crazy Soldier 76 pick as well. At times, it did pay off, but I feel like it was also just a bit of a mentality fixer. Really, the bread and butter was his Echo play here, and you've got to give credit to Fate, because these pile drives set up Fleder so many times to be able to win the Echo 1v1 and establish control. He was playing as the #1 for the Dragons against the #1 for Dallas Fuel in that Echo v Echo matchup. And here's his statistics over the course of this game, minimizing deaths, maximizing the final blows that he was able to do, and just wreaking havoc upon the battlefield.
Yeah, an absurd performance. And the Shanghai Dragons, I mean, of course, going to be so pleased with this one. Securing those tournament points, they get the 3 league points overall as well. Denying it from the Dallas Fuel, also very important. And now this rivalry that is born here, the Shanghai Dragons versus the Dallas Fuel in the finals. I mean, it is a magical thing. I don't think many people really expected us to be in this situation right here, right now. I mean, a lot of people anticipated some other teams to be making it all the way this far. But, I mean, it's such a joy to watch as well, and really pushed to the brink overall. That's going to do it for the grand finals, though. Thank you very much for watching, but the content doesn't stop there. Coming up, we've got an interview with Fate after the break, and also the Watchpoint crew as well. Going to be breaking down the action thus far. I had a phenomenal time. Thank you very much for watching the show, but don't go anywhere just yet. Even more Overwatch content coming up just after this. We'll see you in a few.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Go to takemetomanoa.org today.
Welcome to the Watchpoint Post Show presented by IBM. We're joined now by Fate from Shanghai Dragons. Fate, congratulations on becoming our June Joust champion. 자, 페이트 선수 오늘 우승 너무나 축하드리고요. 6월 토너먼트 우승자로 되신 거 정말로 축하 많이 드립니다.
감사합니다. Thank you.
Right, Fate says thank you. Yeah, I just want to keep going. I just want to sort of hear your thoughts and what you're feeling right now. You know, after a suffocating defeat against the Dallas Fuel in the first round of June Joust, and also losing to the same team in May Melee finals, you guys finally got your revenge on the Dallas Fuel, and you guys just became the June Joust champions. What's going through your head? How are you feeling? 첫 번째 질문은 조금 더 축하를 드리면서 질문을 하고 싶어요. 일단 첫 번째 라운드, 6월 토너먼트 첫 번째 라운드, 또 5월 토너먼트 결승전에서도 패배를 한 후 어떻게 보면은 오늘 드디어 달라스 피오렌트에서 이기셨는데 지금 좀 어떠시고 좀 소감 한 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
일단 뭐 상대가 달라스 퓨어리라 뭐 그런 느낌까지는 아닌데, 일단 저번에 졌던 상대한테 또 이제 어떻게 잘 극복해서 우승해서 정말 기분은 좋고요. 그리고 정말 진짜 팀원들, 코치님들 모두가 만들어낸 작품이라고 생각해요. 한 명도 빠짐없이.
Right, so it's not because that we defeated the Dallas Fuel, but it just really feels good to sort of beat a team that sort of dominated us in previous matches. So getting our revenge was really, really good. And I think this is a work of art that sort of all of us on the Shanghai team, it's the teammates, the coaches, and the staffs, everyone together, you know, it was everyone working together that sort of helped us to get the win. Sorry about that, guys. And also, Fate, we saw you on camera for a little bit, and we saw that, you know, you were being a little bit emotional. What was going through your head as soon as you won against Dallas Fuel? 이거 잠깐 하나 더 질문을 좀 이렇게 덧붙이자면은, 아까 경기가 끝나자마자 좀 페이트 선수가 좀 감정적인 모습을 보여주셨는데 그때 좀 어떤 생각이 드셨나요?
일단 좀 쌓여있는 게 터져서 좀 저도 모르게 그냥 눈물이 났던 것 같아요. 그래, 좀 문 감독님이랑 오랫동안 해왔던 거, 또 이렇게 좋은 팀에 들어와서 할 수 있었던 거, 근데 또 많은 부담이 있었어서, 네. 근데 우승을 해가지고 이제 감정이 좀 폭발한 것 같습니다.
Right, so I believe I had sort of a lot built up inside of me, and everything just came out as soon as we got the win, and I just teared up right after. What was going through my head? Of course, Coach Moon, all the training that we did, and you know, just being honored, feeling grateful that I could play on a great team such as the Shanghai Dragons, and also there were some heavy burdens that I also had to carry coming into the team as well. So I think all of those emotions just sort of that were jumbled up inside me that sort of just came out as soon as we won the championship. All right, let's move on to the second question, Fate. Start of the June Joust finals, it was, I think it's safe to say it was all Dallas Fuel up until the second map. But then after that, you guys were sort of able to turn things around, and of course, at the end, ultimately, you guys were able to finally get the win. What sort of adjustments did you guys make to sort of defeat the Dallas Fuel? 두 번째 질문은 이제 경기 도중에 좀 이제 어떻게 보면 전반전 두 번째 맵까지는 솔직히 좀 직설적으로 말하면 굉장히 달라스가 압도적으로 이기고 있다가 후반으로 좀 들어가면서 상하이 팀이 조금 더 기세를 보여주신 것 같아요. 전반전 끝나고 한 두 번째 맵이 끝나고 그 다음에 어떤 얘기를 하셨고 어떻게 해서 달라스를 이기시게 됐나요?
일단 첫 세트랑 두 번째 세트는 저희가 저번에 졌던 것도 있고 그래서 좀 본능적으로 뭐 쫄지 말자라고 말은 하는데 살짝 쫄았던 감이 있었던 것 같아요. 그래서 계속 그 싸움을 여는 거랑 템포를 잡는 거는 달라스였고, 그리고 저희는 맞기만 했었는데, 근데 이제 뭔가 플레이 방식보다는 그냥 우리가 먼저 가자, 쫄지 말자, 뭐 이렇게 멤버들 다 그렇게 마인드 세팅 그거를 다시 잘 했던 것 같습니다.
Right. So in the first first map and the second map, I think because we sort of did lose or we did get rolled by the Dallas Fuel in the first round of the June Joust Tournament, we sort of going into today's finals, we sort of told ourselves to not get scared. Don't think about our previous match. Just focus on this. There's no need to be scared. But then even as we said that, I feel like going into the match, we sort of were scared of our opponents for map 1 and map 2. So it was all Dallas. Dallas they were opening the fights. They were carrying on the game tempo. It was everything Dallas Fuel. But after the first 2 maps, we sort of got back together and we sort of had to calm ourselves down and basically just we sort of talked about how we can't play scared and we have to carry our own tempo, and sort of that mindset I guess sort of worked, and that is how we were able to sort of turn things around against Dallas Fuel. All right, my last question for you, Fate. This is, I think personally, I really wanted to ask you this as well. So you guys were, adamant about using that Wrecking Ball composition throughout the whole June Joust tournament. And of course, round 1 against the Dallas Fuel, it did not work. You guys lost 0-3. And of course, and coming into today's final match as well, the first 2 maps, you guys were running the Wrecking Ball composition. It did not work. What sort of kept you to continue to sort of play the Wrecking Ball composition even when it didn't work? 세 번째 질문은 계속해서 어떻게 보면 6월 토너먼트에 들어오면서 레킹볼 조합을 계속해서 고집을 하셨던 것 같아요, 상하이 팀이. 쉽게 말씀드리면, 솔직하게 말씀을 드리자면은 첫 번째 라운드에 달라스에서 했을 때도 그 조합이 잘 통하지 않아서 좀 어떻게 해서 지게 되셨고, 오늘 또 오늘 결승전에서도 첫 번째 2맵에서도 레킹볼 조합을 계속 꺼내 왔는데 사용을 해도 별 효과가 없었는데 계속해서 그 레킹볼 조합을 고집했던 이유가 따로 있을까요?
일단 저희는 그 토너먼트 올라오기 전에 정규 시즌 경기에서 오리사가 무조건 좋다라고 생각을 해서 오리사만 연습을 했었거든요. 그래서 저는 사실 오리사 말고는 연습에서 윈스턴 레킹볼을 건들지도 않았어요. 근데 이제 달라스한테 한번 맞고 나서 이거는 아니지. 그 달라스 경기 3일 전부터 레킹볼을 시작했는데, 근데 이제 달라스한테 한번 맞고 이거는 맛조합으로 윈스턴으로 가도 쟤네가 훨씬 연습을 많이 했으니까 맛 윈스턴은 훨씬 잘할 거다. 그래서 이제 볼로 갔는데, 저희가 첫 경기는 토르비온 같은 수비적인 걸 써서 졌던 것 같고, 이제 오늘은 에코를 넣고 좀 공격적으로 운영을 해서 이겼던 것 같습니다.
Alright, sorry guys, give me 1 second. Alright, so coming into the June Joust, I actually really thought that Orisa was the best main tank hero that I could possibly use throughout the whole June Joust qualifier matches. And so I didn't even look at Winston or any other main tanks other than Orisa throughout the whole June Joust tournament itself. It was 3 days prior to the playoffs that I actually picked up Wrecking Ball because it came out. And we sort of had to run with that because we knew that going up against Dallas Fuel, if it was a mirror matchup, the Winston Rush composition, we knew that we definitely cannot beat Dallas Fuel in a mirror matchup because they had been practicing that Winston Rush composition ever since its inception. So we knew that wouldn't happen. So in the first round of the tournament, when we lost, I think we lost because we had that Orisa. We did play Wrecking Ball as well, but we were a lot more defensive with Torbjorn in there. But for the finals today, what we did was we sort of changed our play style, and we were being way more offensive with Wrecking Ball and Echo and Reaper. So I think that was the key to our victory today. All right, Fate, thank you so much for the interview. Thank you so much for all of your answers. And again, big congratulations on winning the June Joust Finals. 페이터 선수 인터뷰해 주셔서 너무 감사드리고요. 다시 한번 우승하신 거 정말로 축하 많이 드립니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Let's head back to the desk.
Thank you so much, Danny. Thanks, Fate. And of course, a huge congratulations to the entirety of the Shanghai Dragons. What a comeback. I'm exhausted. Like, that was an emotional roller coaster like no other. And I feel like I want to call it the biggest comeback or a hard-fought comeback in the history of Overwatch League. Not based just on this match, just on on how we got here. Like, just thinking about the meta and how they figured it out throughout the tournament in a matter of just a few days. And they had a tough road, all right? They did drop down into that lower bracket immediately, but then they looked so dominant down there, which was just confusing, considering that they really struggled early on in this tournament.
I think I agree with where you're coming from, Soy, because it wasn't like it was just a comeback in this match. Yes, they were down 3-1 at some point in this match, but they came back all the way from Friday when they got 3-0 swept, and it's not even like they changed everything up. They stuck to their guns. Fate said that they understood that if they came in, they tried to play the same style exactly as Dallas Fuel, they were going to lose. So they learnt from their Friday match where they got 3-0'd. They were like, hey, we can play the Wrecking Ball, but we can't be this slow. We need to play the Lucio Moura, and we need to up the tempo and somehow play faster than Dallas Fuel. And none of us believed in them. Like, I didn't believe in them, Johnny didn't believe in them, and everyone was saying that they weren't going to be able to do that against the Dallas Fuel. But they did it, and they proved us all wrong, and the Shanghai Dragons should be very happy about that. And I do want to give a special shout out to Fate. He's been through a lot. He said he had a lot of pent up. He's come from the Valiant, who had a struggle of Season 2, then went to the Florida Mayhem, which had some good results, but could never really cross that line. I'm sure this moment for him of crossing that line with the Shanghai Dragons is incredible. So big props to him. He was the match MVP for me.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I mean,
No, I just want to dive in. Talk about the matches.
Yes, let's do it.
Yes,
absolutely.
Let's do this. Well, okay, guys. At the beginning, this started to look like a blowout. All right, this was all Dallas Fuel. There was little opposition coming from the Shanghai Dragons. They stuck to their guns. They rolled in with the same comps that we expected, and it was not working. And that was really, really worrisome.
Absolutely. It was really worrisome, I mean, for the Shanghai Dragons, because they came up with this Wrecking Ball, and it quite honestly looked poor. Like, we thought that this wasn't even going to be close, okay? Because we came out on Lijiang Tower, dominant performance by the Dallas Fuel. They stomped the Shanghai Dragons on Lijiang Tower. And then, of course, we went over to Assault maps. It wasn't even close either. I mean, it was a one-sided match from the Dallas Fuel. We were thinking, okay, when is this going to be over? Are we going to have like an hour, 15 minutes finals for the June Joust? Or is this how it's going to end? Like, the Shanghai Dragons turning it back and being competitive, like even getting competitive, wasn't even a thought that struck our minds. They were so out of it. But somehow they kickstarted things on Numbani. They got a map going to end the first half, and it was just this incredible comeback from all the way down. Now, I'm not gonna get ahead of myself, Zoe, because it was a long match. We went the distance. We went all 7 maps. But my initial gut feeling, and I like the air around the room, it was just Dallas Fuel. They're a monster here to kick things off in the June Joust finals, because there was a dominant 2-0 from them, and then Numbani, at least Shanghai Dragons showed some signs of life.
Yeah, Costa, what? How? Like heading into those next maps. What were your thoughts? Like, did you think that Shanghai Dragons should be sticking to their guns, or did you hope for a change at that point?
I was glad that they didn't change up. They stuck very heavily with the Wrecking Ball Lucio Moura. I said at the halftime, put this Torbjorn to bed. They tried it a little bit on Volskaya. The slowing down style just wasn't ever going to work against the Dallas Fuel, and everyone learnt that so far. So I love that they just decided, instead of being like, let's try and adapt, let's try and sort of mix some things up, they just played their Wrecking Ball. Also, that was ridiculous by Void, that 5K bomb.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see how they just consistently learnt how to adapt as the series went on. Fate's Wrecking Ball all of a sudden started getting more value. I can't count on my hands how many times Bren or Sideshow said that was a great slam by Fate, because it just opens up the fight so much for them every time they do it. And that's what... It wasn't almost like Shanghai Dragons were going faster than Dallas Fuel. They managed to play fast, but also slow down the Dallas Fuel with this Wrecking Ball, consistently slamming. Fate pulling them away from the team fight and forcing objectives. How many times on Rialto? I think he spent 2 minutes just touching the cart, and then as soon as someone looked at him, he would run away. And then they would go back, and then he would run back to the point. And it worked, and it was highly effective. And I hate to say it, even some of Fletter's Soldier got value. So Shanghai Dragons proving that they're bigger brain than me and Johnny, and they made it work. They made all the things that they theoretically thought would work eventually work in the end.
Yeah, but it was close. It was close though. Like the maps which were won by Shanghai Dragons, it's not like and then they rolled them, right? Like those came down to tiny little things, small mistakes, tiny team fights, which made all the differences.
Yeah, I mean, one team fight in Busan, and Dallas Fuel wins it all. Ike and Valde as well, one team fight away from capping it for the Dallas Fuel. I mean, we saw the Roadhog come out from Fearless. It was pandemonium. Ren couldn't have casted that final fight any better. It was pure chaos and pandemonium. Truly epic showing here. I mean, Costa touched on it, but the way Shanghai Dragons, they keep downloading their opponents, they keep improving, they keep iterating. The Wrecking Ball looked terrible to kick off the June Joust playoffs. And then they played the Wrecking Ball against Dallas Fuel, but they did it very defensively. When me and Costa talked about it initially, we talked about how they were peeling off with the Wrecking Ball, how they let Dallas Fuel engage, and then they would pile drive to counter dive the Dallas Fuel. Now in this series, they were just going aggressive. They just sped things up. And we saw parts of that against the Atlanta Reign in the lower bracket yesterday when they started picking off pieces of the Atlanta Reign. Pelican on the Echo, for example, Masa on the Lucio. They started picking off these pieces before the fights even began. So clearly there was an adjustment there that, hey, we need to speed things up. And you saw that even more in full effect today against the Dallas Fuel. Volskaya Industries, I talked about how they overextended. They kept pushing it too far. Dallas Fuel, they abused that of them, that weakness. And then as the series progressed, they just kept iterating and iterating and adapting and iterating. And finally, it just came to life. The Wrecking Ball worked. Fate, he finally dealt with Fearless and claimed his spot now on the Shanghai Dragons. He finally earned his spot. Legendary performance by the Shanghai Dragons in the June Joust playoffs. I was emotionally exhausted watching that map 7 because this was truly epic, Zoe.
No,